Chapter 906. Leng Shiqi thought about it again. There was still a chance. If the holy city really appeared, the Tongxian realm cultivators would definitely not give up this opportunity to explore. In other words, all the Tongxian realm cultivators on the mainland would gather in the holy city. Moreover, Leng Shiqi dared to say that there were definitely more Tongxian realm cultivators in the world. Who knew how many of them were hidden in the mountains and forests? If he joined forces with Meng Tianzong, there was indeed a very good chance. Putting this aside, he finally looked for any other changes in the territory system. Sure enough, he found a new function in the rank 7 underworld, the underworld's divine gift. As the master of the underworld, Leng Shiqi could bestow a part of the underworld's power to the members of the underworld. For example, the ability to absorb souls. Other members could also absorb nearby souls, and then absorb them into the underworld. This way, it was equivalent to all the members of the underworld helping him obtain merit points. Also, the underworld's divine power would gradually condense above the underworld's 9th heaven. Leng Shiqi could inject divine power into other people's bodies and directly increase their strength. This did not only include members of the underworld, but also creatures of the underworld. With this ability, Leng Shiqi felt like he was a god. In addition to these, Fengdu City had also changed a lot. The palaces of the 5 ghost emperors and the 10 kings of hell had become a group of palaces. The biggest change was that the netherworld aura in each main palace was so dense that it was almost solid. If one cultivated here, their cultivation speed would definitely increase by leaps and bounds. Leng Shiqi also specially informed every member of the underworld that they could go to their own palaces when they cultivated in seclusion. He believed that it would not be long before the strength of the members of the underworld would increase by leaps and bounds. Thinking of the members of the underworld, Leng Shiqi remembered that he had not brought in any new members for a long time. He had a few candidates before, but his own experience was too bizarre, and he did not have time to care about these. There were still many empty spots in the underworld, so it was time to bring in a few new people. At this time, the news of Zhulu country defeating Beilu country had already spread. All the forces and dynasties had received this information. Instantly, the entire world was shocked. Originally, a war between 2 small countries would not be so surprising. The main point was that Zhulu country won too quickly. From an outsider's point of view, Zhulu country and Beilu country were equal in strength. Even if a war broke out, it would not be over in just a few days. Moreover, the Zhulu kingdom was able to break through the Pailu kingdom with lightning speed. This was simply unbelievable. In the main hall of the Thunderblaze dynasty's royal capital, someone reported, "Your Majesty, the Zhu Road nation and the Beilu nation are both subordinate nations of our dynasty. Isn't the Zhu Road nation looking down on our dynasty by recklessly attacking the Beilu nation?" Leng Shiqi's Dharmakaya of the past was sitting on the dragon throne. He remained silent. As expected, someone else immediately said, "Lord Yen, you're wrong. In my humble opinion, this matter isn't that simple. Perhaps someone is secretly interfering." It is said that the 3 sky origin stage cultivators from the worship hall of the Beilu kingdom died in a strange way. How could the Zhulu kingdom have such power? They are hiding their strength. We have to find out. The ministers were all talking about investigating the Zhu Road nation. Their worries were not without reason. Leng Shiqi raised his hand, and the hall immediately quieted down. He said, "Dear ministers, let's not talk about the Zhu Road nation. This emperor would like to ask, how do you feel about the 2 counties of the Northern Wei dynasty?" The ministers were all confused. Why did he suddenly mention the Northern Wei dynasty? However, if there was any feeling, it would definitely be great. The Thunderblaze dynasty had finally opened up a new territory after hundreds of years. These people were qualified to be written in the annals of history. Mo Xianghua vaguely thought of something. He took a step forward and said, "Your Majesty is wise and mighty." This old minister boldly guesses that perhaps the Zhu Road nation's matter is related to our dynasty. Haha. Leng Shiqi clapped his hands and laughed. As expected, nothing can be hidden from Minister Mo. That's right. The reason why the Zhu Road nation was able to take down the Beilu nation was because this emperor gave them a lot of power. From their equipment to their military strength, Even their sky origin stage cultivators were all from my Thunderblaze dynasty. The hall was immediately in an uproar. So this was the truth. However, they actually did not know. In other words, this matter was pushed by His Majesty in the dark. He did not discuss it with the ministers. Some people could not help but feel that he did not trust them. The reason why this emperor did not mention this matter was that the Northern Wei dynasty and the Falling Star dynasty could not know about it. My target is not just the Belu nation, but also the Great Moon clan, the Jushur nation, the Golden Tribe and the Tuoba nation. Because this emperor feels that the western region has 6 nations, which is too many. Not only do I want to swallow the 2 counties of the Northern Wei dynasty, I also want to turn the 6 nations of the western region into the Thunderblaze dynasty's territory. His words were as light as a feather, but they shocked everyone in the hall like a sudden clap of thunder. If he felt that the 6 nations of the western region were too many, then he would destroy them all. What kind of method was this? What kind of domineering was this? Many people immediately felt their blood boiling. Compared to the situation here, the Great Moon clan was sighing in despair. Originally, the Great Moon clan wanted to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight when the Zhu Road nation and Belu nation were fighting. They even sent out their troops to fight. But they did not expect the Zhu Road nation to win so quickly. From the intelligence, the Zhu Road nation did not lose much of their troops. They had used their extraordinary power to crush the enemy. The Great Moon clan was in an awkward position. They had 30,000 troops stationed at the border of the Belu nation. Now they were in a dilemma. The Zhu Road nation was in the limelight, and there was a mysterious expert. They did not dare to rashly attack. But they were unwilling to go back with their tails between their legs. While they were still hesitating, the heaven and earth suddenly trembled violently. In the midst of the billowing ghostly aura, a gloomy gate that was 100 feet tall rose from the ground. Then hundreds of ferocious nether beasts roared and rushed into the army's camp. Most of the soldiers were still resting when they were torn to pieces. What the hell is that? Demonic beasts. There are demonic beasts. Ah. Enemy attack. Hurry up and face the enemy. Hurry up and face the enemy. The camp immediately turned into a pot of porridge. When they finally managed to stabilize themselves, countless demons and ghosts rushed out from the gate. These demons and ghosts were not strong. They were not even as strong as ordinary soldiers. But there were too many of them. They were densely packed and covered the sky. Just looking at them would make one's scalp tingle, and one's legs go weak. A few generals immediately had the thought of running away. They did not know where these demons and ghosts came from, nor did they know why they were attacking them. They only knew that if they did not run away, they would not have a chance. Unfortunately, they only felt a gust of cold wind sweep past them. More than 10 translucent figures surrounded them. These figures all exuded an aura that was even stronger than theirs. Chapter 907. More than a dozen ghost slaves easily took care of the generals. The remaining soldiers of the Great Moon Kingdom were in a state of disunity. They only cared about running away in panic. But the more they ran, the faster they died. In less than an hour, the 30,000-strong army was completely annihilated. Only countless rivers of blood and broken limbs were left on the battlefield. A large number of ghosts were gnawing on the corpses. Lung Shiqi walked out of the void. He looked at the hellish scene expressionlessly. He only thought of how powerful the creatures of the underworld were. The 30,000-strong army was annihilated just like that. Those creatures were still very weak, but there were many of them. Moreover, these creatures had just been born, and could continue to grow stronger through devouring. If the creatures of the underworld were to become stronger, they would be comparable to hundreds of thousands of soldiers. In addition to the high-level cultivators of the Nether Temple, the Zhuge family, and the Thunderblaze dynasty, the target was getting closer and closer. None of the 30,000-strong army managed to escape, which meant that the news did not spread. At the same time, because the 30,000-strong army was annihilated, the Green Thunder Army could march straight in. Soon the 20,000-strong Green Thunder Army arrived. They could see the howling of ghosts and howling of wolves from afar. But when they saw the scene, they did not feel good. Many of them even turned pale and vomited nonstop. It was not that they had not been on the battlefield, nor that they had not seen the cruelty of war. On the contrary, they were all seasoned warriors and had seen the bloodshed of the battlefield. But the scene in front of them could no longer be described as a battlefield. It was clearly hell on earth. Countless dismembered corpses were piled up like a small hill. The terrifying thing was that the corpses were covered with teeth marks, as if they had been swallowed alive by something. Lung Shiqi ordered. Now that the Great Moon Kingdom is completely defenseless, there is no defensive force in each city except for the city guards. You will split into 2 groups and attack the cities from the north and south. Finally, you will gather at Hang City. Hang City was the most prosperous city in the east of the Great Moon Kingdom, second only to their capital. They had to take down this city before the Great Moon Kingdom could react. In just 2 days, the Green Thunder Army of the Thunderblaze dynasty invaded more than a dozen cities of the Great Moon Kingdom and took down Hang City in one fell swoop. All of a sudden, the sky of the Great Moon clan collapsed. King Yuejin was dumbfounded. He had his subordinates report this to him several times before he could believe that this had happened. It was as if he had lost half of his territory while he was taking a nap. Eugene was still a little confused. When he wanted to fight back, he realized that the Green Thunder Army had left some guards in every city. Hang City also had 10,000 Green Thunder Army soldiers. The Great Moon Kingdom had 80,000 soldiers, twice as many as the Sanlu Kingdom. Their strength was far superior, but they had to face the Thunderblaze dynasty's Green Thunder Army. That was the most elite army of the Thunderblaze dynasty. If they were to defend the city, they would need at least 30 to 40,000 people to be able to take it down. The key point was not how many soldiers the Great Moon clan needed to fight, but that they did not dare to fight. Their opponent was the Thunderous Blaze dynasty, one of the 3 dynasties in the world. The Thunderous Blaze dynasty had a military force 100 times that of the Great Moon Kingdom. What was more, the Thunderous Blaze dynasty had countless experts. How could they fight against them? Among the 6 kingdoms of the western region, the Great Moon clan and the Jushur kingdom relied on their strength. They were also far from the Thunderblaze dynasty and the Starfall dynasty, so they did not attach themselves to any of the dynasties. The Great Moon clan had no way to deal with the Thunderblaze dynasty. Their only chance to survive was to surrender. Helplessness, fear, and despair shrouded the entire Great Moon clan. It even affected the Che-Chi kingdom, the Golden Tribe kingdom, and the Tuoba kingdom. The Sanlu kingdom was also one of the 6 kingdoms of the western region. The Great Moon clan was suddenly forced to the edge of a cliff. No eggs could remain intact when the nest was overturned. The Thunderblaze dynasty had begun to invade the 6 kingdoms of the western region. Could the 3 kingdoms really protect themselves? The Jushur kingdom and the Golden Tribe kingdom acted quickly. They immediately sent people to the Starfall dynasty to seek protection, and were willing to become their vassals. The Tuoba kingdom was in an awkward position. When the Starfall dynasty went to the Thunderblaze dynasty to attend Lei Qingjuan's birthday banquet, they temporarily stayed in the Tuoba kingdom. Some unpleasant things happened there, causing the Tuoba kingdom and the Starfall dynasty to fall out. As the most powerful dynasty on the continent, the Starfall dynasty did not send troops to attack the Tuoba kingdom due to their status. However, they cut off all trade with the Tuoba kingdom, and ordered the Golden Tribe kingdom to do the same. They wanted the Tuoba kingdom to fend for itself. They believed that in less than 2 years, the Tuoba kingdom would kneel and beg for mercy. In the past few years, the Tuoba kingdom's situation had been deteriorating. It was difficult for them to be self-sufficient. The current situation was unstable. The Jushur kingdom and the Golden Tribe kingdom could not even protect themselves. The Starfall dynasty could not wait for the Tuoba kingdom to be destroyed. In this case, the Tuoba king, Tuobachi, made up his mind. On the surface, he asked the diplomatic group to seek help from the Starfall dynasty. However, he secretly sent people to the Thunderblaze dynasty. The continuous turmoil of the 6 kingdoms in the western region naturally attracted the attention of everyone in the world. All the forces were sighing. The Starfall continent was becoming more and more unstable. If the war between the Zhulu kingdom and the Beilu kingdom was a matter of 2 small kingdoms, then the Azure Thunder Army's dispatch represented the Thunderblaze dynasty's intention to attack the 6 kingdoms in the western region. Zhulu Kingdom's swift defeat of the Beilu Kingdom meant that the Thunderblaze dynasty was behind this. The Thunderblaze dynasty had just seized 2 counties from the Northern Wei dynasty. Now they were plotting against the 6 kingdoms in the western region. They were indeed ambitious. Leng Shiqi appeared openly in Hang City. The arrival of the Thunderblaze dynasty's king of the western wasteland finally made the people of the Great Moon Kingdom lose their last glimmer of hope. They were not afraid of Leng Shiqi's power. In their opinion, Leng Shiqi had just broken through to the heavenly origin realm. After all, the Great Moon Kingdom had several heavenly origin realm experts. What they were afraid of was that Leng Shiqi was the most favored minister of the Thunderblaze dynasty's king, Lei Haoyan. Since he was here, he represented the king of the Thunderblaze dynasty. There were different opinions in the Great Moon Kingdom. Most of them wanted to surrender. Although the Great Moon Kingdom would cease to exist, these high-ranking officials still enjoyed power and wealth. A small number of them did not want to fight to the end. Instead, they wanted to escape with the strongest forces. The Great Moon Kingdom's Hall of Worship had 7 heavenly origin realm experts. It was easy for them to join the Starfall dynasty or set up another faction. Why would they want to be slaves of a fallen kingdom? However, Leng Shiqi took a stroll in the Great Moon Kingdom as the king of Samsara. The next day, the king of Yuejing Kingdom brought people to surrender. Surprisingly, it was not the Thunderblaze dynasty that took over the Great Moon Kingdom, but Queen Carol of the Zhulu Kingdom. After annexing the Beilu Kingdom and the Great Moon Kingdom, the Zhulu Kingdom changed its name to the West Continent Kingdom. Chapter 908. The name of Shizhou indicated that they would not give up on the remaining 3 small countries. However, Zhulu country's foundation was too shallow. Swallowing Beilu country and Great Moon country was their limit, and they would not be able to expand again in a short time. Leng Shiqi did not let the Thunderfire dynasty directly take these territories for themselves. No matter how chaotic the 6 countries of the western region were fighting, it was their internal affairs. This time, it could only be said that the Thunderfire dynasty intervened, but they did not really attack the 6 countries of the western region. Although the world knew that Shizhou country belonged to the Thunderfire dynasty, as long as it was not exposed, no one could condemn it. After all, gossip was a fearful thing, and it was best not to leave any evidence. Leng Shiqi was not in a hurry to return to the Western Wilderness imperial residence, but continued to guard Shizhou country. Although Great Moon country had surrendered, the 7 Sky Origin Realm Masters were still a strong force, and he still had to guard against them. The matter of the 6 countries of the western region was almost done. Next, he would wait for the Blood-Robed Pavilion to rise. During this half a year, he planned to guard Shizhou country and help Carol through this most difficult period. Of course, Leng Shiqi could not stay idle. He entered the mansion of the dead and sat cross-legged. After receiving the memory of the Lord of Samsara, he had obtained a large number of ancient cultivation methods. Those cultivation methods were not very meaningful to him now, but some of them were still very useful. And that was the body refining cultivation method. Leng Shiqi was well aware of the importance of physical strength. Previously, when his body was destroyed, he had cultivated many body tempering techniques. His current body contained great strength, but unfortunately, it had not been fully developed. He first chose a cultivation method called 7 Deaths Extreme Body, which was neither high nor low. It was a level 7 cultivation method, and he could try it out first. Leng Shiqi comprehended this cultivation technique in a single breath. His entire body suddenly emitted strands of red light. From his skin, tendons, bones, and spirit meridians, he felt as if they were being burned. Ordinary people would not be able to endure this pain, but it was nothing to Leng Shiqi. In just a moment, the red light on his body began to weaken and gradually turned orange. Leng Shiqi's muscles tightened as if he had broken through some kind of shackle. He opened his eyes slightly and revealed a bit of surprise. The 7 Deaths Ultimate Body is an ancient 7th-level body refining technique. It is very difficult to cultivate. I didn't expect that I could cultivate it to the 2nd level so easily. This body of mine indeed has great potential. He continued to cultivate, and the light emitted from his body kept changing. In just a few hours, he had cultivated the 7 Deaths Extreme Body to the great completion. At this moment, He was bathed in the majestic purple light. Finally, the purple light abruptly condensed and turned into incantations that were imprinted on his body. Leng Shiqi gently clenched his fist. He didn't use any spirit energy or the power of laws, but he punched the ground, leaving behind a 1,000-foot-wide crater. His eyes were filled with joy. Just the strength of my body is comparable to the unity of heaven and man. It has already caught up with my original body. The 7 Deaths Extreme Body was a set of body refining techniques from the outside to the inside. It could also explode with great physical strength. It was a good foundation to use this technique. Then Leng Shiqi picked another body refining technique that was suitable for combat. It was the ancient 8th level technique, Grey Wolf Transformation. Half a day later, the shadow of a grey wolf dozens of feet long stood behind Leng Shiqi. The grey wolf howled at the moon and looked down on the world. Suddenly, bolts of lightning burst out, causing the nether chi in the area to become violent. Leng Shiqi punched again. It was as powerful as a divine beast, and it was powerful enough to change the color of heaven and earth. The Grey Wolf transformation had reached the great completion. The Grey Wolf transformation is indeed more powerful than the 7 Deaths Extreme Body. If I only use my physical strength, I can defeat most masters in the early stage of the Sky Origin realm. After tasting the sweetness, Leng Shiqi could not stop. Dragon Emperor Technique, Golden Rock Body of 9 Heaven, Phoenix Nirvana Body, Mysterious Glazed Ice Technique. In half a year, Leng Shiqi practiced more than 10 body refining techniques. The techniques that he learned later were most likely 9th level body refining techniques. Most of them were related to the Demon Clan. After all, the Samsara Master was once the Demon Emperor of the Demon Clan. The Demon Clan's physical strength was undoubtedly the strongest. The Samsara Master used this point to create a large number of body refining techniques that were suitable for the Demon Clan. Therefore, his position in the Demon Clan was higher than the heavens. Leng Shiqi's body had endless potential. With his cultivation speed, he finished all the techniques in the 3rd month. After that, he used the rest of the time to integrate the techniques. Because these techniques were more suitable for ancient spirit cultivators or demon beasts, only the techniques that he created himself were most suitable for him. Unfortunately, until now, he had not been able to perfect his own body refining technique. It could only be considered a half-finished product. Leng Shiqi did not continue. Wu Xiang contacted him through the underworld. Wu Xiang used the netherworld lamp to know that Leng Shiqi was in the underworld. Then he came to the underworld in the form of Wu Yan Ghost Emperor. However, when he saw Leng Shiqi for the first time, he was shocked. At this moment, Leng Shiqi gave Wu Xiang the feeling of an ancient beast. Wild, ferocious, ominous, cruel, Leng Shiqi restrained his aura and said, "Master, the sect is about to make a move." Wu Xiang secretly took a breath of cold air. He had an illusion that Leng Shiqi could kill him with one punch. He buried this terrifying thought in the bottom of his heart. He knew that his disciple was not simple. Yes, all parties are ready. If you have no problems, the sect will act in 3 days. Leng Shiqi raised his head slightly. This day has finally come. Yes, this day has finally come. I don't know if the sect will be able to survive this. Wu Xiang sighed softly. Even now, he did not have much confidence in his heart. They would have to become enemies with the entire Thunderfire dynasty. Not to mention the Bloodrobe Pavilion. Even the 6 Directions spiritual region would not be able to withstand it. Leng Shiqi smiled. Master, don't worry. The Bloodrobe Pavilion will definitely win this time. It might even be easier than expected. Oh, you're so confident? Luan Zhuanwang Zhuan has deduced that the Bloodrobe Pavilion is on the rise and no one can stop them. King Yanlua's background is not small and his influence is not weaker than mine. He will also be of great help. Ha ha ha, then I will borrow Luan Zhuanwang's auspicious words and King Yanlua's help. The Bloodrobe Pavilion will remember this. Since you have no problems, I will go back and report to the Pavilion Master. After Wu Xiang left, Leng Shiqi also left the Mansion of the Dead. Over the past half a year, Queen Carol had finally taken complete control of the situation in the West Province. He, on the other hand, had made a special trip to the imperial capital. If he wanted the Blood Garment Pavilion to safely survive this crisis without exposing his strength, he would have to ask for Lei Haoyan's help. Chapter 909. Recently, the Blood Robe Pavilion in Mukden County had been acting strange. As one of the 7 absolutes in the world, they had gradually abandoned their branches in the various counties and gathered in the main pavilion in Mukden County. Among the major forces in the Thunderfire dynasty, only the Blood Robe Pavilion had established branches everywhere. After all, the Blood Robe Pavilion was rather special, and everyone was used to it. When many of the assassins in the branches left, some things that could not be exposed became difficult to handle. However, the distance between the counties was very far, and those sects did not notice that all the branches were leaving. In addition, the Blood Robe Pavilion also began to not accept assassination missions. At first, they could find some decent reasons, but later, they simply closed their doors and did not come out. This aroused the suspicion of many sects, who did not know what the Blood Robe Pavilion was planning. Fortunately, the war between the 6 countries of the Western region happened to break out during this period of time, attracting everyone's attention, so they ignored the Blood Robe Pavilion. Today was an ordinary day, but not an ordinary one. The Blood Robe Pavilion announced to the world that from today onwards, the Blood Robe Pavilion would no longer be restricted by any forces, and their disciples could move freely to compete for the resources of heaven and earth. In the future, the Blood Robe Pavilion would not easily accept assassination missions. If they wanted to kill someone, the employer had to truthfully provide the target's information in advance, and the Blood Robe Pavilion would decide the reward based on the information. If the employer's information was wrong, causing the mission to fail, the employer would directly become the Blood Robe Pavilion's assassination target. After these 2 pieces of news were released, it caused a huge uproar in the Thunderfire dynasty. Although the Blood Robe Pavilion was one of the 7 absolutes in the world, in fact, in the hearts of the cultivators in the world, it was the Blood Robe Pavilion that they looked down on and hated the most. It could be said that more than 90% of the sect disciples in the Thunderfire dynasty had been assassinated by the Blood Robe Pavilion. However, due to the uniqueness of the Blood Robe Pavilion, everyone needed such a dirty sword, so they did not directly attack them. This unspoken rule had been going on for many years, so long that everyone had already gotten used to it. But today, the Blood Robe Pavilion actually jumped out and said that they would no longer follow this rule. They even came up with a new set of rules, which instantly ignited the anger of all the sects. Since you are not willing to continue being this sword, then we will settle the old and new grudges together. Without a leader or an alliance, dozens of sects quickly declared war on the Blood Robe Pavilion at the same time. Most of these sects were second-rate or even third-rate forces. Compared to the Blood Robe Pavilion, they were nothing. However, they were full of confidence because there would be more or less sects declaring war every day. Gradually, first-rate sects also joined in. Especially after the Huangfu clan of the Tenfang clans declared war, it instantly raised the morale of the people. More and more forces began to gather in Mukden County. It was as if all the sects in the world had joined forces to besiege the Blood Robe Pavilion. In the main hall of the Supreme Saber Hall, Hall Master Fu Yingxi was sitting there with a golden saber. Yushu was standing beside him and whispering something. Not long after, Fu Yingxi said, "I understand what all of you mean. The Blood Garment Pavilion has incurred the wrath of the world. Many factions are against the Blood Garment Pavilion. My Extreme Saber Hall is too far from Mukden County, so I won't get involved in this mess." Immediately, some people disagreed. However, Fu Yingxi didn't give them a chance. Do you really think that the people of the Blood Robe Pavilion are fools? Since you dare to go against the world, you naturally have something to rely on. If you want to fight for fame, be careful not to lose your little lives. I've made up my mind. No more discussion. Purgatory Devil Clan, Tianshan County. Purgatory Demon, the sect master, was also worried about the elders and disciples. You all know about the Blood Robe Pavilion. Our holy sect has never been favored by those so-called righteous sections. Today's blood-robed pavilion may be the future holy sect. Mukden County, there's no need to go. Five Flags Alliance, Fushin County. The Alliance Master was selecting people to go to Mukden County when someone suddenly reported that the Dark Thunder Guards and the Discipline Commission had come to visit him. The people of Five Flags Alliance were confused. Why would these two sects come together? Could it be that one of their disciples had committed a crime? As a top sect, Five Flags Alliance didn't dare to neglect these two imperial dogs. The Alliance Master welcomed them in person. Later, the three of them discussed something in a secret room. When they came out, the Alliance Master announced that he would give up on dealing with the Blood Garment Pavilion. Mountain Sea Sect, Donglin County. This was a top sect. After the Blood Garment Pavilion started to cause trouble, they started to gather masters to prepare for a crusade against the Blood Garment Pavilion. However, a mysterious person came to visit them today. Soon, the Mountain Sea Sect decided to seal themselves off for a year. They didn't care about anything in the outside world. Such things were happening everywhere in the Thunderfire dynasty. Some top sects and third-rate sects couldn't go to Mukin County to deal with the Blood Garment Pavilion for various reasons. 2 months later, there were only 3 top-notch forces that had arrived at Mukin County. They were the Huangfu family, the Evil Heartsword sect, and Chi Molu. Chi Molu was a sect that rose after Lei Qingjun destroyed the mechanical city. He mainly cultivated wood elemental techniques and was quite strong. There were also dozens of first-rate sects, and the rest were second-rate and third-rate sections. They waited for a few days in Mukin County, but the other sects didn't come. After asking around, they found out that they were the only ones who came to deal with the Blood Garment Pavilion. Boom! The Huangfu family's master, Huangfu Yuanjie, smashed the table in front of him and roared, "Cowards, a bunch of cowards!" The gloomy old man next to him laughed strangely. "Why are you so angry, Huangfu family's master? It's a good thing that no one came to take the credit for such a famous matter." "A good thing?" The green-robed man on the other side questioned. "Does the Evil Heart Sword Master think that we can take down the Blood Garment Pavilion with just the 3 of us?" The Evil Heart Sword Master called him by his name. "Chi Mu, we have 10 Heaven Origin Realm experts and more than 100 Unity of Heaven experts. We can just attack directly. What are you afraid of?" Chi Mu frowned. "The Blood Garment Pavilion has recalled all their disciples. The number of experts among them isn't much less than ours. If they dare to go against the world, they must be prepared. If we force our way in, we will only fall into their trap. Don't forget that the Blood Garment Pavilion's disciples are best at assassination. Even if we take down the Blood Garment Pavilion, we will suffer heavy losses. Perhaps some of you here will die. Whether or not my words are just an alarmist, everyone should be very clear in their hearts. In my opinion, we should wait a little longer. Even if another top sect comes, our chances of winning will be much higher." Huangfu Yuanjie nodded and said, "Master Chimu is right. Let's wait a little longer." However, they waited for more than half a month, but no top sects came. Only a few first-rate and second-rate sects came. Unfortunately, they couldn't play a critical role. Chapter 9-10. The longer the 3 top forces waited in Mukin County, the more embarrassed they would be. They were here to attack the Blood Robe Pavilion, but they did not dare to make a move in their own territory. This meant that they were afraid. Moreover, there were rumors that they had disrupted the order of Mukin County, causing the people to suffer. Occasionally, disciples of the Blood Robe Pavilion would even come to assassinate them. The Blood Robe Pavilion specifically picked on those second- and third-rate sects, causing the low-level disciples of the entire Subjugation Alliance to panic. Seeing that the alliance was becoming more and more loose, Evil Heartsword Master could no longer hold it in. He persuaded Huangfu Yuanjie and Chi Mu to attack the Blood Robe Pavilion today. The next day, the 3 top sects led tens of thousands of experts to the Blood Robe Pavilion. In the Blood Robe Pavilion, the higher-ups were also a little confused. They had expected that once they started the attack, the number of people who would come to besiege them would be at least several times more than now. When the 3 sects arrived in Mukin County, all of their movements were under the surveillance of the Blood Robe Pavilion. At first, the Blood Robe Pavilion thought that the other party was deliberately deceiving them and hiding more experts. However, after such a long time, the Blood Robe Pavilion did not find any clues even after investigating those people. In other words, only these people came to attack them this time. Did they overestimate the influence of the Blood Robe Pavilion? Or did they overestimate the backbone of the sects in the world? Of course, all of this was the best for the Blood Robe Pavilion. If it was just dealing with the enemies in front of them, they were absolutely confident. The fact that not many sects came to Mukon County seemed a little strange, but in fact it was the result of the Blood Robe Pavilion's 100 years of planning. The forces in the eastern and western provinces of the Thunderfire dynasty were stopped by the Lung Shichi. The forces in the north and south were invaded by the Blood Robe Pavilion for many years, such as the Supreme Saber Hall and the Purgatory Demon Sect where Yushu and Xiongming were. There were also a few top forces that were allies of the Blood Robe Pavilion, the Lioha spiritual region. It could be said that the Blood Robe Pavilion had affected the entire Thunderfire dynasty's forces this time. It could be seen that the Blood Seed plan was indeed very useful. Of course, the Lung Shichi had risen too quickly. Otherwise, the Blood Seed plan would have to continue for hundreds of years to reach its current situation. The location of the Blood Robe Pavilion's sect was rather secretive, and there was also a formation concealing it. Ordinary spirit cultivators would not be able to discover it. However, the three sects had come prepared. They had bought information from the Wind Whispering Tower at a high price. With the help of several Sky Origin stage cultivators, they had broken the formation and exposed the Blood Garment Pavilion. Sword Master Xie Xian pointed his long sword at Yi Futian in high spirits. However, when he saw the many experts of the Blood Robe Pavilion, his expression stiffened. At this moment, there were thousands of assassins in blood-red clothes and masks standing in front of him. They were filled with murderous intent. Behind them, there were tens of thousands of black-clothed assassins with cold expressions. In terms of low and middle-level spirit cultivator, the Blood Robe Pavilion was actually not much less than the Alliance. Moreover, the disciples of the Blood Cloak Pavilion had experienced countless life-and-death battles. Their combat prowess was naturally far superior to those of ordinary sections. What shocked Sword Master Xie Xian and the others the most were the 8 figures standing in the air. The Pavilion Master of the Blood Robe Pavilion, Hateful Blade. Vice Pavilion Master, Black Frost Ghost. The Disciplinary Elder, Bone Demon. The hidden experts of the previous generation were Elder Gu and Elder Mu. Beside Elder Mu was a golden puppet that was dozens of feet tall. It was also floating in the air. It was the supreme puppet that he had spent his entire life to create, Big Gold. Other than these people, Wu Xiang and Hua Luyue stood at the sides. They were both newly advanced Sky Origin stage cultivators. These 8 Sky Origin stage cultivators shocked everyone. Outsiders only knew that the Blood Robe Pavilion had 3 Sky Origin stage cultivators. Even if there were 1 or 2 hidden old fellows, it was still within the acceptable range. But now? Good heavens, 8 of them. Their so-called alliance only had 10 Sky Origin stage cultivators. It looked like there were 2 more, but in a battle between Sky Origin stage cultivators, unless there was a huge disparity in strength, it would be very difficult to kill each other. Sword Master Xie Xian compared the strength of both sides. He realized that his side was indeed stronger, but at most, they were stronger by 30%. With this strength, it was almost impossible to destroy the Blood Robe Pavilion. The high spirits from before had completely disappeared. If they could not destroy the Blood Robe Pavilion, they would become the laughingstock of the world. However, if they fought forcefully, as Chimu said, they would only suffer heavy losses and might not be able to take down the Blood Robe Pavilion. Their current situation could only be described as being in a dilemma. At that moment, 2 more people appeared in the void. They were recognized as soon as they appeared. Chimu said in surprise, "It's Elder Shao and Elder Lin from the 6 Directions Spiritual Region. The 4 Directions Spiritual Region is here." "That's great." Sword Master Xie Xian was delighted. However, Elder Shao said, "Everyone, the Blood Robe Pavilion has some ties with the 6 Directions Spiritual Region. For the sake of the 6 Directions Spiritual Region, you should retreat." What? The 3 top sects, including everyone else, were stunned. The 6 Directions Spiritual Region was on the Blood Robe Pavilion's side. In their impression, the 6 Directions Spiritual Region was the most orthodox force. How could they collude with the Blood Robe Pavilion? For a moment, everyone thought that they had heard wrongly. Elder Shao originally did not want to appear. It was enough for the Six Directions spiritual region to secretly help the Bloodrobe Pavilion. However, when he told the situation here to Six Directions spiritual sovereign, Six Directions spiritual sovereign asked him to appear and force the three sects to retreat. Even though Sword Master Xie Xian and the others did not know the Six Directions spiritual region's intentions, after Elder Shao and Elder Lin joined, the two-side Sky Origin Realm combat power was equal. There was no hope of destroying the Bloodrobe Pavilion. Moreover, the Six Directions spiritual region was a transcendent force. Who would dare to attack them? It seemed that the only path left for them was to retreat with their heads covered in dirt. Sword Master Xie Xian was unwilling to accept this. He could not understand why there were not many sects that came to attack the Bloodrobe Pavilion, which was hated by everyone. Why would the Six Directions spiritual region support the Bloodrobe Pavilion? Seeing that Huangfu Yuanjie and the others did not respond, Elder Shao frowned slightly. Why? Do you want to experience the Six Directions spiritual region's divine art? Qi Mu immediately smiled. Elder Shao, you must be joking. The Six Directions spiritual region is where we aspire to be. We will retreat. Then, he pulled the helpless Sword Master Xie Xian and Huangfu Yuanjie and quickly retreated. The tens of thousands of sect disciples also retreated like the tide. The siege of the Bloodrobe Pavilion ended so abruptly with a strong start and a weak finish. One could imagine that in the near future, the three top forces of the Huangfu family would be swept away and would no longer have the face to see others. The Bloodrobe Pavilion was also a little confused. Every one of them came to this battle with the awareness that they would die. However, it was over before the battle even started. They had planned for 100 years and staked everything on a single throw, but it was completed as easily as eating and drinking. It was too unreal. However, Pavilion Master Hen Dao and the others looked at Elder Shao at the same time. Chapter 9:11. According to the agreement between the Bloodrobe Pavilion and the Six Directions Spiritual Zone, the Six Directions Spiritual Zone did not need to show up. It was Elder Shao and Elder Lin who used their divine origin realm power, and the Six Directions Spiritual Zone's might to force Sword Master Evil Heart and the others to retreat. However, this exposed the Six Directions Spiritual Zone. Hatred Blade did not understand how this would benefit the Six Directions Spiritual Zone. He needed an explanation. Elder Shao felt his scalp go numb from Hatred Blade's stare. He knew that he was no match for Hatred Blade, but he also did not know why Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign wanted him to do this. Therefore, he could only laugh dryly and say, "Pavilion Master Hatred Blade, I was only following orders. Now that the Bloodrobe Pavilion has easily survived this crisis and is publicly established in the world, congratulations." Hatred Blade firmly believed that there was no such thing as a free lunch in the world. He asked, "Where is Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign? I want to see him." Elder Shao stuttered. Suddenly, divine light bloomed in midair. Circles of dazzling light circled and condensed into something like a passageway. Then a dignified and arrogant voice sounded. "I'm here." Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign had crossed thousands of miles and personally arrived at the Bloodrobe Pavilion. He was surrounded by the power of laws, and his aura soared into the sky aggressively. Hatred Blade instantly felt as if he was facing a great enemy. He actually sensed a trace of killing intent from Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign. "Hatred Blade, I underestimated you and the Bloodrobe Pavilion. I didn't expect the Bloodrobe Pavilion to have such a great influence in the dark that you can actually stop more than half of the top sects in the world. This is good as well. It saves me a lot of effort." Black Frost Ghostly Man could see that Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign had come with ill intentions. "Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign, we have already agreed that if you help us survive this crisis, we will help you deal with the people you want to deal with. What are you trying to do now?" Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign said coldly. How can the Four Directions Spiritual Zone ally with a dirty force like the Bloodrobe Pavilion? Today, I will represent the righteous path in the world and destroy the Bloodrobe Pavilion." He waved his hand, and the world shook. Boundless divine power surged as if he was the god of this world. "Unless you all are willing to submit to this exalted, only death awaits you." Black Frost Ghostly Man bellowed furiously. What an evil dog-eat-dog. You force the three sects to retreat, because you want to monopolize my blood garment pavilion. It turned out that the Lioha spiritual region had such a good plan. Not only could they shut the mouths of everyone in the world, they could also take over the Blood Robe Pavilion. If the Six Directions spiritual region could possess a sword like the Blood Cloak Pavilion, many things that were difficult to do in the past could be easily done. Especially those shameful things. Hen Dao looked straight at Six Directions spiritual supremacy. There was only a cold glint in his eyes as he slowly said, "On what basis?" "Why? Ha ha ha." Six Directions spiritual senior laughed loudly. "I alone can wipe out your entire Blood Robe Pavilion." Then the hateful blade suddenly slashed out. This saber strike did not have a shocking saber ray, but it passed through space like a ghost and instantly slashed in front of Six Directions spiritual supremacy. The corner of Six Directions spiritual supremacy's mouth curled up into a cold smile. He was secretly mocking the saber for overestimating itself. However, in the next moment his eyes suddenly lost focus for a moment. Although it was only for a short moment, the saber light had broken through his protective divine light. Bang! Then, the strange thing was that Six Directions spiritual supremacy was unscathed. However, the hateful blade's body was violently sent flying by an invisible force. Blood scattered with the wind. Hateful blade was on the verge of death. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Pavilion Master. Inkfrost ghostly being dodged and caught the hateful blade. The others looked at Six Directions spiritual supremacy with murderous intent. Six Directions spiritual supremacy's expression was very ugly. He had actually been ambushed by a mere heavenly origin realm cultivator. He said coldly, "You have some ability. If you were given a few more decades, you might have a chance to continue breaking through. Unfortunately, you must die today." The members of the Blood Robe Pavilion would never have thought that the people who came to attack them would retreat on their own accord. However, their ally had become their greatest enemy. The mystic comprehending realm Six Directions spiritual supremacy was unstoppable. Even the strongest hateful blade had been crippled in one move. What did they have to fight against Six Directions spiritual supremacy? Six Directions spiritual supremacy alone was more terrifying than several top sects. "I will give you one last chance. Submit or die." As soon as he finished speaking, endless extreme Een sword chi suddenly exploded in the sky. The terrifying evil Een energy darkened the sky and earth, stirring up the power of law as it attacked Six Directions spiritual supremacy. Only a mystic comprehending realm cultivator could stir up the power of law. No one had expected a mystic comprehending realm cultivator to ambush Six Directions spiritual supremacy at this time. Six Directions spiritual supremacy was shocked at first. Then his expression became calm. It was only when the sword intent was about to reach him that he uttered a strange syllable. No one knew what it meant. At this moment, supreme heavens appeared around Six Directions spiritual supremacy, and there was a god in each of the heavens. Those gods formed seals with their hands and suppressed the heavens and earth with their bodies. No matter how powerful the extreme Een sword chi was, it was all destroyed by this suppressive force and turned into nothingness. The members of the Blood Robe Pavilion retreated continuously with ashen expressions. This was the true strength of a Six Directions spiritual supremacy. It turned out that defeating Hateful Blade was just a casual move. A vertical eye appeared on Six Directions spiritual supremacy's forehead and scanned the surroundings. However, he did not seem to discover anything. He frowned and said, "There are not many people in this world who can master this sword intent that is closest to death. Which old friend of mine is it? Show yourself." However, what answered him was another saber gleam. In an instant, 3 saber gleams flashed for thousands of miles. The saber transformed into the 3 realms, the immortal realm, the devil realm, and the Buddha realm. Gods, ghosts, and Buddhas. These 3 completely different powers merged into one. The most powerful saber slashed the heavens and decimated the earth. The numerous heavens formed by Six Directions spiritual supremacy shattered one after another. His expression did not change as he took a step forward. Thousands of rays of divine light bloomed behind him. In an instant, divine dragons shook the heavens and soared for thousands of miles. In the blink of an eye, he passed through the saber of the three realms. When his palm landed, the might of the dragon realm blasted into nothingness. After a deafening boom, a mysterious person who was shrouded in black chi appeared. You are finally willing to show yourself. Who are you? Six Directions Spiritual Supremacy stared at this person, and the figures of mystic comprehending realm cultivators flashed across his mind. However, none of them matched the person in front of him. From the previous two exchanges, this mysterious expert was not weaker than him. The members of the Blood Robe Pavilion were also very surprised. This mysterious expert was obviously here to deal with Six Directions spiritual supremacy. They were not sure if this person was helping the Blood Robe Pavilion, but from the looks of it, the situation was extremely advantageous for the Blood Robe Pavilion. Among the crowd, only Wu Xiang was deep in thought. He had actually seen Lung Shiqi's shadow in the previous saber strike. However, he did not dare to believe that his disciple was in the mystic comprehending realm. How old was Lung Shiqi? He was only in his 20s. Being able to break through to the spiritual pulse realm at such a young age was already shocking enough. How could he be in the mystic comprehending realm? He must be crazy. However, when Wu Xiang thought of Lung Shiqi's confidence in the underworld, he was slightly shaken. This disciple of his was too mysterious. No one could tell what would happen to him. Chapter 9:12. This mysterious person was naturally Lung Shiqi. He had been secretly observing the situation in the Blood Garment Pavilion. For some reason, Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign had changed his mind and wanted to enter the Blood Garment Pavilion personally. The Blood Garment Pavilion was already Lung Shiqi's, so how could he give it to Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign? Thus he made his move. Lung Shiqi could not use his identity as the master of Samsara, or else he would be associated with the Thunderfire dynasty. He could only give up on using the law of Samsara and use Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign to test his strength. Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign did not have the confidence to defeat Lung Shiqi, so he could only test him first. Who are you? Why are you making an enemy out of me? Lung Shiqi cupped his hands and said, Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign's name is known all over the world. A nobody like me is not worth mentioning. I have no intention of making an enemy out of you, but I owe the Blood Garment Pavilion a favor. Please forgive me for offending you this time. His words sounded polite, but his tone was unyielding. This made Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign, who had always been high and mighty, unhappy. If that's the case, then let's see if you really have the ability to protect the Blood Garment Pavilion. Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign waved his hand, and the heavenly illusions gathered again. However, this time, the heavenly illusions finally condensed into six gigantic divine statues that were hundreds of meters tall. Each divine statue had a terrifying energy aura that could even interfere with the laws of heaven and earth. This was one of the most powerful inheritances in the Six Directions spiritual zone, the Six Directions divine statue. The higher-ups of the Blood Garment Pavilion also recognized it, and they could not help but exclaim, "That's the Six Directions divine statue." Legend has it that Six Directions Holy Sovereign once killed a divine spirit expert from the Star Tribe with it. He's serious now. Retreat quickly and activate the sect protection formation. Lung Shiqi also felt the immense pressure. Suddenly, the image of a dragon flying and a phoenix dancing appeared around him. The dragon soared to the 9 heavens, and the phoenix soared to the universe. Waves of violent energy surged through his entire body. Not only that, but illusions of wolves, golden rocks, black tortoises, divine deer, and so on appeared in the sky as if thousands of beasts had gathered. Immediately after, the illusions of divine beasts that filled the sky instantly returned to Lung Shiqi's body. At this moment, his body was shrouded in various colors of light. They were ancient, mottled, mysterious, and contained boundless power. His eyes flickered, and in that instant, heaven and earth trembled. Even though he was a Six Directions spiritual supremacy, he still felt like he was facing thousands of primordial demonic beasts. Seeing this scene, Wu Xiang was finally certain that the person who was fighting with Six Directions spiritual supremacy was Lung Shiqi. Even though he had already guessed it, he was still shocked when he confirmed it. That young man who had slaughtered his way out of Bloodmist Island a few years ago had actually become an existence that he had to look up to. The 6 directions spirit venerable seals changed, and the 6 god statues landed palm after palm, punch after punch. The power that soared into the sky seemed to be endless. The space within a radius of 10,000 miles was trembling, and there were faint signs of it collapsing. Lung Shiqi, on the other hand, simply threw a punch without using any spiritual techniques or the power of laws. However, in the next instant, it was as if this punch was the only thing in this world. The force of the punch tore through the air and directly shattered one of the divine statues of the 6 directions spiritual supremacy. 6 directions spiritual sovereign raised his eyebrows. He was most aware of how powerful the 6 directions divine statues were. Although these divine statues were not real, they were tougher than anything in the world. However, at this moment, one of them had been shattered by a single punch. He could not help but be shocked. What a powerful physical strength! Lung Shiqi had used brute force to break through the technique, and he had used the strength of his physical body to gain the upper hand. However, a few cracks had appeared on his fist. He could already confirm that his physical strength was comparable to that of a mystic comprehending realm cultivator. Since he had already tested it, he could not be too restrained. A golden-winged rock appeared behind him, and with a swipe of its claws, it tore apart the heavens and earth. What was even more terrifying was that this swipe was extremely fast. It was so fast that even the 6 directions spiritual sovereign could not capture Lung Shiqi's figure with his vertical pupil. Caught off guard, another god statue was shattered into pieces. The 6 directions divine statues complemented each other. After losing 2 god statues in a row, the remaining 4 were greatly weakened, and 6 directions spiritual sovereign could only retreat temporarily. This was the first time he had chosen to retreat. However, Lung Shiqi was not going to let him off after gaining the upper hand. He used his Fire Phoenix Dharma power, and his entire body turned into boundless flames that sealed the space, turning the area within a radius of a few thousand miles into a purgatory. You've gone too far. 6 directions spiritual sovereign was completely enraged. He pointed a finger, and a divine light that covered the sky quickly repelled all the flames. He chanted a mystical syllable, and the divine light in the sky condensed into a giant mouth that reached the heavens. The giant mouth grew larger and larger, until it seemed like it was going to swallow the heavens and the earth. It actually swallowed Lung Shiqi's inferno in one gulp. Roar! The instant the inferno was extinguished, 10 consecutive dragon roars pierced through the clouds. At this moment, 10 divine dragons of different forms were swimming around Lung Shiqi, and they were extremely powerful. He chuckled and said, 6 directions spiritual sovereign, are you satisfied with my strength? 6 directions spiritual sovereign's expression was solemn. Lung Shiqi's strength had indeed surprised him. Not only was he proficient in saber and sword techniques, but his physical strength was also the most terrifying. The two of them could be considered evenly matched. One had to know that 6 directions spiritual sovereign belonged to the upper group of mystic comprehending realm cultivators. However, 6 directions spiritual sovereign had never heard of a mystic comprehending realm cultivator who cultivated the physical body. Where did this person come from? He also knew that it was impossible for the two of them to fight to the death, so there was no way to determine the true victor. This time he had failed again. 6 directions spiritual sovereign was extremely depressed. Previously, he had joined forces with many experts from the top sects to break into the imperial capital of the Thunderblaze dynasty. Just as he was about to succeed, a mystic comprehending realm cultivator, who cultivated the law of earth, had appeared and directly ruined his plans. This time, he had planned to take over the Blood Garment Pavilion, but another mystic comprehending realm cultivator had appeared. As a result, 6 directions spiritual sovereign felt that his luck was too bad. Of course, he did not know that the person who had ruined his plans twice was actually the same person. Very good. I did not expect such a powerful expert to appear on the continent. I would like to see if you can protect the Blood Garment Pavilion for a while, but can you protect it forever? 6 directions spiritual sovereign coldly glanced at Lung Shiqi, and the few higher-ups of the Blood Garment Pavilion before disappearing in a flash of divine light. After Six Directions' spiritual sovereign left, everyone in the Blood Garment Pavilion heaved a sigh of relief. This mystic comprehending realm cultivator had given them too much pressure. The Vice Pavilion Master, Inkfrost's ghostly man, first ordered someone to bring Hateful Saber away to treat his injuries. He then walked over to Lung Shiqi with a few Heavenly Origin Realm cultivators. The few of them bowed and said, "Thank you for saving our lives, Senior. The Blood Garment Pavilion is unable to repay you." "It's nothing. I was only entrusted with the task. If you want to thank someone, you should thank your own family." Also, Six Directions' spiritual sovereign is right. I can only protect you this time. You should think about what to do next time. Farewell. Senior, please wait. May I ask who asked you to help? Inkfrost's ghostly man could not help but shout. However, the mysterious expert had already left and only left behind a single word: King. Chapter 9:13. King? What did that mean? Was it a disciple of the Blood Garment Pavilion with the surname Wang? Or was there a king in his code name? Wu Xiang immediately knew what it meant. Was this not referring to the king of the Western Wilderness, Lung Shiqi? He finally understood everything from the beginning. Lung Shiqi might have thought that it was inconvenient for him to appear directly. Otherwise, it would be too ridiculous. Lung Shiqi did not want to give up the credit of helping the Blood Garment Pavilion survive this disaster. That was why he did this. Wu Xiang recalled that Lung Shiqi had asked for the position of a pavilion leader candidate. He seemed to have understood Lung Shiqi's plan. A glint flashed across the Inkfrost ghost's eyes. He vaguely thought of Lung Shiqi, but the pavilion leader's injuries were more important now. He said, "Don't make wild guesses. Let's check on the pavilion leader's injuries." At the mention of the pavilion leader, everyone tensed up and hurried back to the sect. At this moment, Hateful Blade was lying on a stone bed, and Elder Mu was treating his injuries. After everyone entered, Elder Mu said softly, "The pavilion leader's meridians are all shattered. Fortunately, his heart meridian was protected and his life was temporarily saved." However, at this point he seemed to want to say something but stopped himself. This made the others very anxious. Elder Gu said angrily, "Old Wood, why are you still keeping us in suspense? Hurry up and say it." Sai, the one who attacked, was a Six Directions spirit supremacy. Even if the pavilion leader protected his heart meridian with all his might, there was still a weak power of law that could not be removed. It won't be long before the pavilion leader's heart meridian is completely destroyed and he will die. That despicable Six Directions spirit supremacy. To think that we trusted him. Alright, this is the law of the jungle. Now let's think of a way to save the pavilion leader. We're best at killing people. Elder Mu is the best at saving people in the sect. Elder Mu, what do you think we should do? Elder Mu pondered for a moment and said, "There are two ways we can try. First, if we combine our strength, we might be able to pull out that weak power of law. However, there can't be any mistakes in the process. Otherwise, we will personally kill the pavilion leader." "No." Elder Bone immediately objected. "Like I said just now, we're the best at killing people. The art and spirit skills that we cultivate are all focused on explosive power. With so many people, it's impossible for us to be that precise. What's the other way? Also, the two of us can forcefully guard the pavilion master's heart meridian. However, this will consume a lot of our cultivation base. Furthermore, we can't maintain it for long. At most, we can only delay it for 1 or 2 years. That's fine too. Now you and I will protect the pavilion master's heart veins." In fact, it was easy for Lung Shiqi to get rid of the law in Hateful Blade's body. However, he still struggled for a long time. He was sweating profusely, causing everyone to worry. After several hours, Lung Shiqi suddenly sat on the ground and said with joy, It worked." As soon as he finished speaking, Hateful Blade opened his eyes. Elder Mu and the others were overjoyed. To them, Hateful Blade was not just the pavilion master. On the contrary, this pavilion master was not very competent. This was because Hateful Blade was the most promising person in the Blood Garment Pavilion to reach the mystic comprehending realm. Even Six Directions Spirit Supremacy had personally said that Hateful Saber was indeed qualified. If Hateful Blade reached the mystic comprehending realm, the Blood Garment Pavilion would definitely be able to reach a higher level and become a transcendent sect. Elder Mu and the others were about to speak when Hateful Blade said weakly, "Although I'm unconscious, I know what you've done and said. Lung Shiqi, you saved my life and stopped the top sects in the 9 eastern counties. You even invited a mystic comprehending realm expert to force Six Directions Spirit Sovereign to retreat. As the Pavilion Master, I have nothing to repay you with. The only thing I can do is fulfill my promise." Then Hateful Blade stood up with difficulty. He looked at all the higher-ups and said slowly, "From today onwards, I will step down from my position as the Pavilion Master and recommend Lung Shiqi to succeed me as the Blood Garment Pavilion Master." His words did not surprise anyone, but they felt that it was a little rushed. Wu Xiang was the first to speak. "I agree that Lung Shiqi should succeed me as the Pavilion Master." Hua Luiyue also nodded. When the others saw that the 2 Pavilion Master candidates had agreed, they had nothing else to say. As for Foam Shamo, he was no longer qualified to speak. Ink Frost Phantom said solemnly, "Lung Shiqi has the status of a Pavilion Master candidate, and has made contributions that no one can match. I have no objections to him succeeding me as the Pavilion Master. However, there are not many disciples who know about Lung Shiqi's existence. Even 90% of the disciples in the main sect do not know who you are. If you recklessly succeed me as the Pavilion Master, I'm afraid that many disciples will doubt you." "That's easy," Elder Gu added. "Let him be an elder first. Also, if the Pavilion Master decides to step down from his position, let the candidates compete with each other. In the end, Lung Shiqi will emerge victorious." The few of them nodded. It was just a formality to let Lung Shiqi show his face and make his presence known. Lung Shiqi gladly accepted. Entering the Blood Garment Pavilion was easier than he thought. Chapter 9:14. Once he had control of the Blood Garment Pavilion, coupled with the intelligence network of the Dark Thunder Guards, nothing in the Thunderfire dynasty could escape his eyes and ears. Moreover, the Blood Garment Pavilion was indeed a good sword. Many things could be done quietly. Otherwise, the Six Directions Spiritual Supremacy would not have coveted the Blood Garment Pavilion. After this matter was settled, Lung Shiqi had been staying in the Blood Garment Pavilion. He did not hide his identity. After all, the Six Directions Spiritual Region knew his true identity. Now that both sides had fallen out, the Six Directions Spiritual Region might reveal the Blood Garment Pavilion's secret. Instead of being passive, it was better to admit it directly. When the disciples of the Blood Garment Pavilion found out that Lung Shiqi, the king of the western wilderness of the Thunderfire dynasty, and one of the 4 Dark Thunder Guards, was actually their elder, they were all extremely shocked. Their jaws dropped to the ground. Therefore, when the higher-ups announced that Lung Shiqi was the Pavilion Master candidate, not only did no one question him, he was even supported by many disciples. In their opinion, Lung Shiqi, Wu Xiang, and Hua Luiyue were all at the heavenly origin stage. In contrast, Lung Shiqi was famous and was deeply worshipped by many disciples. The Blood Garment Pavilion also deliberately promoted Lung Shiqi's role in the Bloodseed plan. They even gave him most of the credit for getting through this crisis. Of course, this was the truth. After half a year, Lung Shiqi finally stood out from the other Pavilion Master candidates and became the new Blood Garment Pavilion Master. The Battle of the Blood Garment Pavilion could be said to have shocked everyone in the world. They had never seen such an anticlimactic affair. Originally, the Blood-Robed Pavilion was the public enemy of the whole country. However, there were not many people who actually went to attack the Blood-Robed Pavilion. What was even more ridiculous was that those who went were scared back without even fighting. It was the biggest joke in the world. Before the Blood Garment Pavilion finished eating, the Six Directions Spiritual Region announced to the world that the king of the Western Wilderness, Lung Shiqi, was actually a spy planted by the Blood Garment Pavilion in the Thunderfire dynasty. Before anyone could verify it, the Blood Garment Pavilion announced that Lung Shiqi was the new Pavilion Master of the Blood Garment Pavilion. Now there was no need to prove it. He could just admit it himself. Everyone in the Thunderfire dynasty focused their attention on the Blood Garment Pavilion once again. They wanted to see how the Thunderfire dynasty would deal with this matter. He was a prince with a different surname, one of the 4 chiefs of the Dark Thunder Guards, but he was actually a spy from a sect. This was a ruthless slap to the Thunderblaze dynasty's face. They were all guessing whether the Thunderblaze dynasty would annihilate the Bloodcloak Pavilion in a fit of rage. In truth, this was what the ministers of the imperial capital had suggested. Lung Shiqi had used his past incarnation to control Lei Haoyan and bring out 6 Direction Spirit Sovereign. He admitted that he already knew Lung Shiqi's identity. In fact, Lung Shiqi was a double agent. The dynasty had secretly joined forces with the Blood Garment Pavilion in order to deal with the real mastermind. 6 Directions Spiritual Supremacy. Previously, 6 Directions Spiritual Supremacy had led people to attack the imperial capital. They hated 6 Directions Spiritual Supremacy to the core. After hearing this explanation, they felt relieved. Lung Shiqi also explained that the Blood Garment Pavilion would share their intelligence network with the Dark Thunder Guards. In this way, the Thunderblaze dynasty would be able to lay out an inescapable net and know all the clues like the back of their hand. Only then did the ministers understand that the Blood Garment Pavilion had been recruited. It turned out that they were on the same side. Since they were on the same side, why would they fight? Therefore, the people outside waited and waited, but the Thunderblaze dynasty did not make any moves. It was as if this matter had never happened. Everyone was stunned. Was this still the domineering Thunderblaze dynasty? From the time the Thunderblaze dynasty decisively attacked the Northern Wei dynasty and seized 2 counties, then secretly annexed the 6 nations of the Western region, the Thunderblaze dynasty gave everyone the impression that they were domineering. However, the dynasty did not have any reaction to Lung Shiqi's public betrayal this time. This was too strange. Not doing anything was equivalent to a tacit agreement. Therefore, Lung Shiqi became the Dark Thunder Guard's 4th chief supervisor, the Western Wilderness King of the Western Wilderness County, and the Blood Garment Pavilion's Pavilion Master, one of the 7 absolutes in the world. These 3 extremely uncoordinated identities appeared in the same person at the same time. It was as strange as it could be. Lung Shiqi, who had become the Pavilion Master, did not care about the rumors outside. He was very busy. First, he had to take over most of the Blood Garment Pavilion's authority. He would not give up almost all of it like Hateful Blade. At the same time, he kept Ink Frost Ghost as the Deputy Pavilion Master. Firstly, Ink Frost Ghost's experience in managing the Blood Garment Pavilion was unparalleled. With him around, Lung Shiqi would have a much easier time. Secondly, Ink Frost Ghost did not covet the position of Pavilion Master. He could be trusted. Previously, the Blood Garment Pavilion had given up on all the county's branches. They could not be rebuilt yet. After all, the power of the branches was equivalent to a second-rate force. If they were targeted, it would be a waste. Therefore, Lung Shiqi built 2 large branches on the east and west sides of the Thunderblaze dynasty. Wu Xiang and Hua Luiyue guarded them respectively. It was not until more than a year later that the Blood Garment Pavilion finally settled down. During this time, apart from being busy with the Blood Garment Pavilion, Lung Shiqi did not forget to continue recruiting new members of the underworld. The first was Bing Shang. Bing Shang's talent was not ordinary. She also had 0 ice. More importantly, she had a good temperament. After becoming a member of the underworld, she had also received the title of King Chujiang. With the help of legacy cultivation methods and exclusive treasures, she had reached the unity of heaven and man realm. The other was the previous Pavilion Master of the Blood Garment Pavilion, Hateful Blade. Hateful Blade's personality was similar to Xiongming's. He did not care about power and was too lazy to say anything. He only wanted to pursue greater power. Moreover, Lung Shiqi had discovered that Hateful Blade had a chance to break through to the mystic comprehending realm after healing him. He estimated that if Hateful Blade joined the underworld and obtained legacy cultivation methods and treasures, the probability of him breaking through to the mystic comprehending realm would be very high. After Lung Shiqi made this request, Hateful Blade agreed without hesitation. He wanted to return Lung Shiqi's favor, and also to obtain greater power. Hateful Blade obtained the legacy of the 10 kings of hell, King Biancheng. After doing this, Leng Shiqi could finally proceed to the next step of his plan. He contacted Nine Leave in the underworld and asked, Nine Leave, what's the situation in the far north wastelands? Nine Leave looked at him strangely and said, Now the far north wastelands is divided equally. 2 demon venerables each have half. They are Demon Venerable Lifeng and Demon Venerable Silverwing. They each have 7 or 8 demon kings under their command. I am one of the 8 demon kings of Demon Venerable Silverwing, Nine Leave Demon King. Why are you asking this? Do you want to meddle in the far north wastelands? Leng Shiqi raised his head and smiled. Only 2 demon venerables. You're right. I have the intention to make a trip to the far north wastelands. After making up his mind, Leng Shiqi left his unborn Dharma body in the Blood Garment Pavilion. His original body was directly teleported to the far north wastelands that was filled with demon beasts through Nine Leave. Chapter 9:15. Coming to the northern wastelands, Leng Shiqi's biggest feeling was that the spiritual energy here was extremely poor. It could be imagined that there were very few other resources. No wonder the demon clan was exiled here. Ordinary spirit cultivators would not cultivate in such a place. At this time, Nine Leave was still muttering, What do you mean there are only 2 demon sovereigns? Leng Shiqi also discovered that there seemed to be a faint smell of blood in the air of the northern wastelands. Nine Leave explained, This is the territory that I recently occupied. Not long ago, there was a battle. Battles are very common in the northern wastelands. Seems like you are doing well in the northern wastelands. Of course, among the 8 demon kings under the Silverwing Demon Sovereign, I am ranked 5th. Nine Leave coughed dryly. You must know that I have only been in the northern wastelands for a short period of time. Among the demon kings, I am already ranked 5th. I don't know how many demon kings are envious of me. Yes, Demon King Nine Leave is the most powerful. Leng Shiqi complimented. Let's get down to business. I want to see that Silver Wing Demon Sovereign. Nine Leave revealed an expression of as expected. I knew you had a plan. Unfortunately, you can forget about it. The hatred of the demon clan in the northern wastelands towards the human clan is much stronger than the demon miasma mountain range. If the Silver Wing Demon Sovereign sees you, he will want to slap you to death. That might not be the case. Leng Shiqi smiled mysteriously. Then an extremely pure demon chi surged out from his body. His eyes turned a pale green, revealing a terrifying gaze. Nine Leave's eyes focused. She actually saw the faint image of a wolf behind Leng Shiqi. She knew that it was not some heaven and earth Dharma idol, but the true body of a 7th-ranked demon sovereign. This was what surprised her the most. Leng Shiqi was clearly a human. How could he have the characteristics of a 7th-ranked demon sovereign? Although he did have a trace of demon clan's bloodline, he could only be considered a half-demon. But Leng Shiqi in front of her was a genuine demon clan. Knowing Leng Shiqi's background, Nine Leave was puzzled. How did you do it? Leng Shiqi asked back. There are all kinds of strange things in the world. It's just a little trick. Do you think it can be hidden from the Silver Wing Demon Venerable? Your bloodline and even your soul are pure demons. Even Demon Venerable Silverwing couldn't have seen through it. You really came prepared. That's good. Oh, by the way, there's someone you might know. Leng Shiqi summoned Qing'er. Qing'er greets Master. Qing'er first bowed to Leng Shiqi. When she raised her head and saw Nine Li, she opened her mouth and said in surprise, Sister Nine Li? You are. Little Qing. Nine Leave sized up Qing'er and also recognized her. You are a Tier 7 great demon. Yes, all thanks to Master's help. Master. Nine Leave looked at Leng Shiqi from the corner of his eyes. I didn't expect you to be interested in this. Little Qing is my good sister in the demonic miasma mountain range. What did you do to her? Leng Shiqi waved his hand and said, Cough, don't think too much. You see, I have the identity and the power. Now I am qualified to meet Demon Venerable Silver Wing. I can introduce you, but you should at least tell me what your plan is. I don't want to be sold by you without knowing. Actually, it's nothing. I just feel that it's not a good idea to keep fighting in the extreme northern wilderness. It's better to unify it. Nine-Leaf heard this and the corner of her mouth twitched slightly. You really don't give up until you say something shocking. You, a fake demon, want to unify the extreme northern wilderness? Lung Shiqi shook his head. Not me. It's Demon Venerable Silver Wing. It may also be you in the future. Nine-Leaf was thoughtful. The tacit understanding between her and Lung Shiqi made her understand. I understand. You want to help Demon Venerable Silver Wing unify the extreme northern wilderness, and then use the power of the demon race to do things. When we are strong enough, we will replace them. That's right. The idea is good, but I want to know how you will help Demon Venerable Silver Wing unify the extreme northern wilderness. The two Demon Venerables have many 7th-ranked demons under their command. The Demon King is only the most powerful among them. Even with you and Little Qing, Demon Venerable Silverwing's power won't improve qualitatively. Or are you a little arrogant after breaking through to the Heaven Origin Realm? Nine-Leaf questioned. Who said I'm in the Heaven Origin Realm? Lung Shiqi moved his finger, and an invisible force suddenly fell down like Mount Tai. Nine-Leaf and Qing's bodies were shining with demon light, but they were still smashed. Their bodies sunk into the ground for dozens of feet. Nine-Leaf wasn't injured, but she was a little embarrassed. However, she didn't care about this at all. Her eyes were shining with surprise. This is the law of gravity. You are already in the mystic comprehending realm. Kind of. Lung Shiqi couldn't explain his realm, so he could only answer like this. Nine-Leaf glanced at Lung Shiqi with a strange expression. Are you really a human? You can't be the reincarnation of an ancient almighty, right? She guessed correctly. Lung Shiqi smiled. It's possible. Maybe I'm the reincarnation of the desolate heaven demon monarch. Tisk, even if the desolate heaven demon monarch reincarnated, he couldn't be a human. With your power, you can indeed influence the battle between the two demon venerables. I'll take you to see Demon Venerable Silverwing. As for how to persuade him, it's up to you. Nine-Leaf took Lung Shiqi and Qing and flew quickly in a direction. Along the way, Nine-Leaf kept explaining the situation of the extreme northern wilderness to Lung Shiqi. The extreme northern wilderness was now divided equally. Demon Venerable Silver Wing and Demon Wind occupied the east and west respectively. Both sides fought fiercely almost every day. Under the two Demon Venerables there were several Demon Kings. These Demon Kings were equivalent to human cultivators in the late stage of the Heaven Origin Realm. Each Demon King controlled more or less demon tribes and corresponding territories. Nine-Leaf had the Scorpion Tribe, the Spirit Fox Tribe, and the Bear Tribe. This situation had been maintained for hundreds of years. During this period, both sides had their advantages and disadvantages, but they had never been able to destroy the other side and unify the demon race. It could also be said that as long as Demon Venerable Silver Wing and Demon Venerable Lifeong couldn't determine a winner, neither side could destroy the other. In addition, the extreme northern wilderness was indeed worthy of the name wilderness. Lung Shiqi followed Nine-Leaf and flew for thousands of miles. All he saw were withered trees and desolation. Sometimes, wars would break out between tribes just for food. The living environment could be said to be extremely harsh. Even so, the Imperial Beast Abode and Blood Beast sect outside were still active in capturing demon beasts in the extreme northern wilderness. No wonder the demon race hated the human race so much. 2 days later, the three headed north and came to a snowy mountain. Nine-Leaf pointed to the peak of the snowy mountain and said, Demon Venerable Silver Wing is cultivating there. I have to go and inform him first. Lung Shiqi scanned with his divine sense and didn't find any demon race nearby. There were also no tribes. Could it be that there was only one Demon Venerable Silver Wing in this snowy mountain? Chapter 916. Lung Shiqi could not help but ask, is there no one else besides Silver Wing Demon Venerable? Why does Silver Wing Demon Venerable need someone else here? Nine-Leaf suddenly turned her head. Don't think too much. Silver Wing Demon Venerable's strength is not comparable to an ordinary mystic comprehending realm cultivator. Lung Shiqi shrugged. I'm just asking casually. Don't think too much. Nine-Leaf sighed slightly. As Leng Shiqi's strength increased by leaps and bounds, she could not do anything about it. Soon an elegant female voice came from the snowy peak. Blue Wolf Demon Venerable came from afar. "Excuse me for not going out to meet you." Blue Wolf Demon Venerable was a name Leng Shiqi casually gave himself. Hearing this voice, he realized that Silver Wing Demon Venerable was actually a female. Leng Shiqi stepped out and instantly arrived at the snowy peak. There were no glorious palaces or mysterious formations here. There was only a vast flat ground, and an elegant woman dressed in simple and elegant clothes was standing there. At first glance, she was as pure as the snowy mountain, but did not have the feeling of being thousands of miles away. Strangely, she was carrying a sword on her back. This was the first time Leng Shiqi saw a demon using a sword. If he did not know her identity, he would think that she was a sword cultivator disciple of some sect. Leng Shiqi cupped his fists and said, "I've long heard of Silver Wing Demon Venerable's name. Today, I finally get to meet you. The Blue Wolf bloodline has long been extinct. I didn't expect blue wolves to still exist in this world. It's really a blessing for the demon race." Silver Wing Demon Venerable's voice was soft and gentle. "I was born in the demonic Miasma mountain range. Later, I mingled with the human race for a period of time. After making a detour, I learned that the demonic Miasma mountain range no longer existed. I could only return to the far northern wilderness to find a place to settle down. This was also what he and Nine Leaf had agreed before. After all, she had to have a background." Sigh. Silver Wing Demon Venerable sighed softly. "The far northern wilderness is almost barren and has no resources. Why did you think of returning? It's better to be free outside." Leng Shiqi knew that Venerable Silver Wing was testing him. He said with a solemn expression, "How can the outside world be called free and unfettered? An 8th-rank Venerable Demon is full of treasures. Those humans can't wait to tear me into pieces. If it weren't for his ability to conceal himself, he would have died long ago. This is the only place where I don't need to disguise myself. Especially when I see the Silver-Winged Demon Venerable. It makes me feel like I'm bathing in a spring breeze." The Silver-Winged Demon Venerable smiled. As expected after being in the human race for so long, "You speak differently from those boorish fellows. Little Julie told me your purpose for coming here. Unfortunately, I have no intention of unifying the northern wastelands. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you." "No such thoughts?" Leng Shiqi did not believe it at first. The Silver-Winged Demon Venerable and the Gale Demon Venerable had been fighting for so many years, and the hatred between them was as deep as the sea. Even if the Silver-Winged Demon Venerable did not want to unify the demon clan, he should not have rejected him for revenge. He looked at Julie, and Julie sent him a message. "Don't look at me. I don't know anything." The Silver-Winged Demon Venerable took the initiative to explain. "If you return to the northern wastelands, you can indeed influence the situation here. You can help me, Venerable Gale, or even establish your own sect. All of these will cause the northern wastelands to fall into a huge turmoil. This is not what I want to see, and it is not what Venerable Gale wants to see, either. Everyone has ambition, especially Lai Feng. But if you go to him, he will not agree with you. Because the northern wastelands needs the current situation. You don't need to make any changes. This is the best." Leng Shiqi's mind changed rapidly. He speculated. The resources of the northern wastelands are extremely scarce, and the low-ranked demon clan's reproduction ability is very strong. It won't work in the long run. Therefore, the fight between the two demon venerables is actually to reduce the number of low-ranked demon beasts, so that the demon clan and the resources will always be in a delicate balance. Therefore, for so many years, even if one of the demon venerables has the advantage, they have not swallowed the other party. The Silver-Winged Demon Venerable praised, "Venerable Songlang is wise. The fact is just as you said. If the northern wastelands are unified, the number of battles will naturally decrease. As the number of clans gradually increases, the resources of the wastelands will be completely consumed sooner or later. By that time, our clan will have to fend for itself." Leng Shiqi shook his head and said, "This is a good idea indeed. But forgive me for being blunt. How long can this last? Hundreds of years? Thousands of years? Tens of thousands of years? The renewable resources of the northern wastelands are very little, and they are decreasing every moment. Even if you are trying your best to control the number of demon clan, it can only be regarded as a temporary measure. How can I not know what you just said? But there is no other way. The demon clan is declining, and there are already 2 top sects guarding the entrance of the northern wastelands. The Northern Wei dynasty is also eyeing the northern wastelands covetously. We can only delay as long as we can. The silver-winged demon venerable's tone was full of helplessness. The demon clan had been exiled to this place for hundreds of thousands of years. During this period of time, it was not that they had not resisted. The closest they had been to success was 10,000 years ago. Unfortunately, the Tsongyuan sword saint had appeared out of nowhere and turned the situation around by himself. From then on, the demon clan had completely declined and could only struggle at death's door in the northern wastelands. Leng Shiqi frowned. He did not expect that the demon clan venerable, who was known for his viciousness, would actually lose all his vigor. He muttered to himself, "The situation in the northern wastelands cannot be delayed. My goal is actually the same as the 2 demon venerables, but I will not let the demon clan fend for itself. I will lead the demon clan out of the northern wastelands and let the demon clan have a place in the falling star continent. Therefore, the unification of the northern wastelands is imperative. As long as we can rush out of the northern wastelands, all the problems will naturally be solved." Silver-winged demon venerable, don't think that I am delusional. You might say that once the demon clan dares to leave the northern wastelands, they will be surrounded and annihilated by all the spirit cultivators in the world. But if I tell you, the northern wastelands only faces the Northern Wei dynasty, silver-winged demon venerable, do you believe me or not? Although Leng Shiqi had not been in the northern wastelands for long, from what he had seen and heard, he roughly understood that the demon clan was not weak. On the contrary, they were stronger than any of the peak forces. They could even suppress transcendent forces. 2 demon venerables, a dozen demon kings, and dozens of 7th-level great demons. This kind of strength far surpassed the Northern Wei dynasty. After all, the Northern Wei dynasty only had Chen Xian, who was at the common profound realm. If the demon clan only needed to face the Northern Wei dynasty, then the Northern Wei dynasty would definitely lose. But how was that possible? Leng Shiqi said mysteriously, "I have been in the human clan for many years, not for sightseeing. In the near future, the Thunderblaze dynasty and the Falling Star dynasty will definitely fight. We will take this opportunity to rush out of the northern wastelands and occupy the Northern Wei dynasty." Silver-winged demon venerable obviously did not believe him. If not for Leng Shiqi revealing his demon venerable aura, she would have already chased him away. Even if everything goes as you expect, what about after that? Even if the other 2 dynasties are fighting, the transcendent forces and peak forces in the world will definitely join hands to besiege our clan. Who will stop them? Leng Shiqi waved his hands, and a starry sky universe appeared behind him. Vaguely, powerful auras came from it. He said word by word, "I will stop them." Chapter 917. Silver-winged demon master and 9 leaves stared blankly at the starry universe behind Leng Shiqi. The starry river flowed, and the scary thing was that there were hundreds of powerful auras. The aura of a Tianyuan realm expert. To be honest, silver-winged demon master, I once met a descendant of the Star Clan by chance. The Star Clan hates the human clan more than we do. The power they have accumulated over hundreds of thousands of years is unimaginable. I have joined forces with the Star Clan and decided to take back the Falling Star continent. In the future, the Star Clan and the Demon Clan will be the masters. As for the Human Clan, they are only fit to be our food. Star Clan. The silver-winged demon venerable looked surprised. In fact, the Star Tribe was the main culprit who banished the Demon Clan to the northern wilderness. Later, the Star Clan was destroyed by the Human Clan, which made the Demon Clan happy. However, hundreds of thousands of years had passed, and the Demon Clan had almost no hatred for the Star Clan, because it was the Human Clan who had been slaughtering and enslaving them. So now, the Star Clan and the Demon Clan had a common enemy. It seems that you came prepared. Silver Wing Demon Master seemed to have loosened up. Based on the power that Lung Shiqi had shown, it was indeed enough to fight against the human clan. But I can't believe you. Also, the human clan has more Tongxian realm experts than you know. If those people join forces, our clan will still be defeated. Lung Shiqi pulled a long face and said with a trace of disappointment, "There is nothing that can be done without taking risks, let alone such a great plan to restore our clan. I came with sincerity, not to see such a cowardly Silver Wing Demon Master. If you don't believe me, then I will fight against both Demon Masters at the same time. Even if I have to lead the remaining Demon Clan, I will fight against the human clan." Speaking of this, Lung Shiqi turned around and pretended to leave. "Even if I die in battle, I don't want to die like a dog." Silver Wing Demon Master was struggling and hesitating. Her will had long been extinguished, but Lung Shiqi's words had ignited the flames in her heart. Everything was as Lung Shiqi had said. Even if the demonic beasts managed to maintain a delicate balance, they would slowly die out after 1,000 years. Since that was the case, he might as well take a gamble. Moreover, if she did not agree, it would not be difficult for Lung Shiqi to unify the far north wilderness with the cultivation of the demon Venerable and the power of the descendants of the Star Clan. Venerable Silverwing's heart began to waver. "Silverwing Demon Sovereign, take your time to think about it. I'm going to look for Windbreaking Demon Sovereign. If he's the same as Silverwing Demon Sovereign, then we can only meet on the battlefield. Wait. I can't give you an answer yet, but I can go with you." Lung Shiqi felt a little relieved when he heard this. This meant that the Silver Wing Demon Venerable had begun to side with him. Although the Silver Wing Demon Venerable hadn't agreed, she was secretly helping Lung Shiqi, since she was willing to go with him to find Demon Venerable Lai Feng. It could be said that the first step to success had been taken. In fact, before coming to the far north wilderness, Lung Shiqi wanted to choose Venerable Silver Wing to help him defeat Demon Venerable Lai Feng and indirectly unify the demonic beasts. Who would have thought that the two demon venerables of the demonic beasts had already reached a tacit understanding and formed an unspoken rule? Lung Shiqi could only change his words temporarily. Anyway, his ultimate goal was the same, which was to use the demonic beasts to stall the Northern Wei dynasty. He told Venerable Silver Wing that there would be a war between the Thunderblaze dynasty and the Starfall dynasty. This was not a lie. Since he supported the Zhulu country to annex the Beilu country and the Yuezhi country, his plan had already begun, including entering the Blood Cloak Pavilion, and now in the far north wilderness, he was preparing for his ultimate goal. Demon Venerable Lai Feng's location spanned more than half of the far north wilderness. When Venerable Silver Wing and Lung Shiqi found him, he was lying on the ground with a few wine jars beside him. Before they got close, they could smell the pungent smell of alcohol. Venerable Silver Wing frowned and said with displeasure, "A dignified demon venerable is like a drunkard. What a scandal!" She had specially brought him here, but who would have thought that she would see Demon Venerable Lai Feng in such a state? It was really a disgrace to the Demon Venerable. Lung Shiqi cupped his hands and said, "Demon Venerable Lai Feng is a true man. I'm Songlang. I'm here to pay my respects." Demon Venerable Lai Feng on the ground did not pay much attention at first. After he glanced at him, the smell of alcohol on his body disappeared. His red eyes stared at Lung Shiqi and he said in surprise, "When did another rank 8 Demon Venerable appear in the far north wilderness?" Venerable Silver Wing briefly explained Lung Shiqi's origin and purpose. Lung Shiqi also repeated what he had said to Venerable Silver Wing. Lung Shiqi thought that he would have to spend more time talking, but unexpectedly, Demon Venerable Lai Feng roared, "Damn it! I can't wait for heaven to eat those humans. Don't be rash. You'd better think carefully before you speak." Venerable Silver Wing reminded him. Demon Venerable Lai Feng scratched his beard and said, "Songlang, it's not that I don't want to believe you. Although you and I are not of the same clan, your appearance is too mysterious. I won't let all my clansmen die rashly." Lung Shiqi's expression became serious. He stretched out 2 fingers and pointed to the sky. Demonic light shot out from his eyes and he said, "Both demon venerables are here. I can swear to heaven that if I betray the demon clan, My body and soul will be destroyed and I will not enter the samsara. Heavenly Demon Oath. This was an oath that only rank 8 demon venerables could make with the help of the laws of heaven and earth. Once violated, the demon venerable would suffer a backlash from the laws of heaven and earth and die without a doubt. This action made the 2 demon venerables let down their guard against him. Lung Shiqi continued. It's okay if you don't believe me. Let's sit down and talk while drinking. As he spoke, he took out a jar of wine. The words "Drunken Life" were written on the red paper. This was something that he had won from a lottery a long time ago. He had tasted a little of it before. It was known as the best wine in the world. This was the perfect opportunity to cater to his taste. Lung Shiqi opened the lid. Once Demon Venerable Lai Feng saw the wine jar, his eyes almost popped out. His nose twitched. He stretched out his trembling hands and said, let me have a taste. Crash. Lung Shiqi pointed with his finger. A stream of water shot out from the jar. Demon Venerable Lai Feng opened his mouth and gulped it down. As the wine entered his stomach, Demon Venerable Lai Feng's body felt light. After a long while, he suddenly slapped his thigh and hooked onto Lung Shiqi's shoulder. He shouted at the top of his lungs, Old brother Tsang, you are my blood brother. As long as there is enough wine, I promise to fight wherever you point me to. Lung Shiqi smiled and said, Old brother Crevice, don't worry. I have plenty of wine here. Beside him, Demon Venerable Silverwing covered his face and remained silent. This was too embarrassing. Since old brother Lai Feng has agreed, why is Demon Venerable Silverwing still hesitating? Then we'll do as you say. However, if I find out that you're lying, don't blame me for turning against you. Lung Shiqi thought to himself, it's done. Now that everything was ready, all that was left was to wait for the right time. Chapter 9:18. Time flew by, and 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. In the past 10 years, the Starfall continent did not change much, and the various parties were still fighting endlessly. The biggest thing in the past 10 years was that the 6 countries of the Western region no longer existed, and were replaced by the Shizhou country. The Shizhou country that had annexed the Jushur country, and the Golden Tribe country. As for the Tuoba country, it had secretly submitted to the Thunderblaze dynasty, and even backstabbed the Golden Tribe country, allowing Carol to easily sweep through the 5 countries. Other than that, nothing else happened that shook the continent. 10 years later, Lung Shiqi's face did not change at all. At this moment, he was standing beside Oziu with a solemn expression. Oziu's eyes were tightly closed, and illusory images flashed around him. Not long after, his movements paused, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Lung Shiqi revealed a surprised expression. Oziu was now in the heavenly origin realm, and his deduction skills were superb. The thing he was calculating could actually backfire on him. Oziu wiped away the blood indifferently and said, The holy city is probably going to appear soon, and I have roughly calculated the location. It's in the Starfall dynasty. Your deduction of the location is really specific. The Starfall dynasty's territory was much larger than the Thunderblaze dynasty's. Moreover, he had the bloodline of the Star Clan, so he could roughly feel that it was in that direction. This sentence was equivalent to not saying anything. Oziu pursed his lips and said, It's already very good that you can calculate the location. You've prepared for the holy city for 10 years. God knows what kind of storm you will stir up inside. I won't join in the fun this time. Lung Shiqi put his hands behind his back and raised his head slightly. His gaze seemed to be able to see through the sky. 10 years of preparation, just for this day. I hope you won't disappoint me. Don't pretend to be deep here. I advise you to quickly send a few people from the underworld to the Starfall dynasty to wait. The members of the underworld could teleport to each other at any time. As long as they were scattered in all directions of the Starfall dynasty, no matter where the holy city appeared, they would be able to arrive immediately. This time, aren't you going to give me a divination? Forget it, you won't die anyway. Lung Shiqi shrugged and disappeared. He came to the underworld. 10 years later, the underworld had changed greatly. Currently, underworld had become a true world of darkness. The vast and boundless land was divided into many regions with Fengdu Necropolis as the center. All kinds of hell creatures lived in these regions. After they died, they would be directly reincarnated in the underworld, and would often be reborn endlessly. After some time had passed, many powerful creatures had appeared in the underworld. The strongest among them were already stronger than Unity of Heaven realm experts. Most importantly, Hades was already at the 8th stage. In the past 10 years, Leng Shiqi had found 2 Tongxian realm experts who had been living in seclusion. With the help of Hateful Blade and Tu Deng, they were able to kill the 2 Tongxian realm experts and upgrade the Mansion of the Dead. That's right, Hateful Blade was already in the Mystic Comprehending realm, but he hadn't announced it yet. The Blood Cloak Pavilion had 2 profound insights. If the world knew about this, they would be scared to death. After Hell had been upgraded to Tier 8, it could indeed be described as a world. That was because Hell had actually given birth to the power of law. The power of law was the foundation of a world. As the master of Hell, Leng Shiqi could use the power of law at will here. Although he couldn't use it in the outside world, it was enough for him to comprehend the power of law in the outside world more easily. Leng Shiqi contacted a few people through the netherworld lamp illusory body. Immediately, a few huge illusory bodies appeared. Ghost Emperor Yao Yi Ninely. Ninely had broken through to Tier 8 Demon Venerable a year ago. Now he was the 3rd Demon Venerable of the Demon Clan, Ninely Demon Venerable. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, Tu Deng. Tu Deng's cultivation realm was still a mystery. He was a bit similar to Leng Shiqi. Both of them had broken through their original realm. Leng Shiqi was sure that Tu Deng's strength was definitely above the Tongxian realm. King Biancheng Hateful Blade. The previous pavilion master of the Blood Cloak Pavilion stood there like a blade between heaven and earth. And Meng Tianzong. Yes, Meng Tianzong was also a member of the underworld. She was also the strongest fighter in the underworld, a reaching heaven state fighter. Leng Shiqi wanted Meng Tianzong to join the underworld because he valued her strength the most. At the same time, he wanted to control Meng Tianzong through the underworld. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. After joining the underworld, Meng Tianzong not only recovered quickly, but also improved. No one knew how strong she was now, because no one was a match for her. Everyone Luan Yuan Cheng has deduced that the sacred city is about to appear in the Starfall dynasty. In order to seize the opportunity, I hope you can go to the Starfall dynasty immediately to guard it. They weren't talkative people. They also knew the secret of the sacred city. Its importance was self-evident. Tu Deng, Hateful Blade, and Ninely nodded and left. Only Meng Tianzong was left. She said, Leng Shiqi, the appearance of the sacred city will definitely attract all the strong fighters in the world. I'm sure I'm not the only reaching heaven state fighter on the continent. On the Starfall continent, reaching heaven state fighters were at the top of the pyramid. A reaching heaven state fighter could support an extraordinary force. Reaching heaven state fighters had become legends. However, Leng Shiqi didn't believe that there were no other reaching heaven state fighters in the world. If someone of this level wanted to hide, no one would be able to find him. Of course, even if you pass by him, you wouldn't be able to recognize him. If I enter the sacred city, I'll pretend to be a reaching heaven state fighter. So you can't underestimate anyone. There might be a reaching heaven state fighter hiding in the sacred city. Leng Shiqi agreed. He had played the pig to eat the tiger before, so he had to be careful. Before entering the sacred city, he had to make all the preparations. No matter whether he could or could not come back from the sacred city, he still had to do what he had set out to do. Then he found the past Dharmakaya, Lei Haoyan, the emperor of the Thunder Dynasty. With Leng Shiqi's power of law, Lei Haoyan's cultivation had also broken through to the Sky Origin realm. At that time it was shocking. After all, there weren't many emperors in the Sky Origin realm. He used Lei Haoyan's identity to quietly mobilize the various armies of the dynasty. Some experts also hid in the dark. The Blood Clothing Pavilion sent out a large number of assassins to infiltrate the Starfall dynasty from all directions. These things had been going on for 10 years, and now, they were about to explode. The demon clans of the northern wastelands had joined forces for the first time. They were ready to kill the human race at any time. After making sure that everything was arranged properly, Lung Shiqi personally went to the Starfall dynasty. He was near the imperial capital at the center, waiting for the sacred city to descend. 2 months later, boundless golden light quietly illuminated the entire falling star continent. Everyone in the world could see the majestic sacred light as long as they raised their heads. Most people even knelt down and kowtowed. It was a pilgrimage. Those high-level spirit cultivators were shocked at first, but then they were overjoyed. This was a great opportunity. Those who knew the truth and those who didn't. All the spirit cultivators in the world gathered towards the Starfall dynasty. Chapter 919. The source of the golden light was in the Starfall dynasty's Lingbei County, and Tudang was nearby. When the holy city appeared, Lung Shiqi and the rest immediately teleported over through the underworld and found the holy city. The holy city was bathed in the golden light, and one could barely see its shadow. However, when he got close to the holy city, he was blocked by the light. Even Meng Tianzong with his Ascension realm cultivation could not break in. Lung Shiqi said in a deep voice, "This golden light is very strange. It clearly does not contain any power, but we can't break through. We can't take advantage of this opportunity. What a pity." Meng Tianzong stretched out his hand and grabbed a strand of golden light. This golden light contains Saint Force, but it is dissipating very slowly. So we still have to wait for a while before we can enter. From now on, there will be experts coming over every day. It can be considered a grand occasion for the continent. Lung Shiqi was also helpless. Since they could not break in, they could only wait. Fortunately, the underworld was strong enough. Even if he faced an Ascension realm expert, he was not afraid. As time passed, Lingbei County became the focus of the world. Spirit cultivators in the continent rushed to Lingbei County like moths to a flame. Especially when some people who knew ancient secrets found out that this was the holy city. Wind Whisper Tower also bought this information. Since Wind Whisper Tower had this information, it meant that everyone in the world knew about it. In less than a month, Lingbei County was almost filled to the brim. This was when most of the Northern Wei Dynasty and Thunderfire Dynasty's spirit cultivators had not arrived. The Starfall Dynasty acted as the host and placed a large number of experts in Lingbei County. They even mobilized tens of thousands of troops to maintain order. Those elusive Sky Origin stage cultivators seemed to be a bit common now. It seemed that they could be seen everywhere. 90% of the top sects in the world had either arrived or were on their way. After 2 months, the number of people gradually decreased. At this time, all the experts in the world had gathered in Lingbei County. Every sect occupied a piece of land, waiting for the holy city to truly open. The ones closest to the holy city were naturally the top sections. A total of 50 transcendents and top forces were lined up in a row. Many Sky Origin realm experts were walking back and forth. Just one look was enough to brag about for a lifetime. More than half of the Thunderfire Dynasty's Imperial Consecration Hall came, led by Xianhaoying, a peak Sky Origin realm expert. Lung Shiqi's identity was West Desolate King. This time he did not follow the Thunderfire Dynasty's Imperial Consecration Hall, as it was more convenient for him to move alone. The current commander of the Dark Thunder Guards, Eunuch Gao, and the commander of the Discipline Commission, Gu San, were in the ranks of the Hall of Worship. Imperial Consecration Sects Imperial Consecration Dynasty's Consecration Hall Imperial Consecration Hall Halls Consecration Halls Imperial Consecration Halls Imperial's Consecrations Hall Imperial. The Black Frost Ghost Man, Bone Demon, Wu Xiang, and Hua Luiyue from the Blood Garment Pavilion had all arrived. The Hall Master of the Supreme Saber Hall, Fu Yingxi, and the Vice Hall Master, Yu Shu, as well as the Purgatory Demon Sect's Sect Master, Purgatory Demon, and the Vice Sect Master, Meng Ming, also occupied advantageous positions. In addition to these sects, there were scattered Sky Origin stage cultivators on the other side. They were all masters who lived in seclusion. Lung Shiqi knew Qingzhu and Honglian among them. Lung Shiqi looked around and found there were over 500 Sky Origin stage cultivators there. 99% of the Sky Origin stage cultivators were here. Not only were there Heaven Origin realm cultivators, There were even a few Tongxian realm cultivators. Old Man Xiao from the Thunderfire dynasty, Chen Xian from the Northern Wei dynasty, and 2 from the Starfall dynasty had come. Actually, everyone had long felt that it was impossible for the Starfall dynasty to only have one mystic comprehending realm cultivator. One of them was Wuma Yuanqing, a well-known Tongxian realm expert. They were not familiar with the other person. After asking around, they found out that he was Ying Qinhe, a member of the older generation of the Starfall dynasty's royal family. He had just entered the Tongxian realm. The Starfall dynasty did not want to expose Ying Qinhe's existence so early. He would be most useful in the dark. However, there were too many experts in Lingbei County. Not only were there hundreds of Sky Origin stage cultivators, but there were also more than 10 Tongxian realm experts. Wuma Yuanqing alone was not enough to intimidate so many Tongxian realm experts. Apart from these 4 people, the 4 Saint Spiritual Realms Lord, 6 Directions Spirit Supremacy, Luoying Spirit Supremacy, Huangwei Spirit Supremacy, and Wuji Spirit Supremacy were all here. The experts from the 3 dynasties and the 4 Saint Spiritual Realms were all gathered here. None of them liked each other. For example, Old Man Xiao and 6 Directions Spirit Supremacy almost fought each other. Also, the 4 Saint Spiritual Realms were not so harmonious. For many years, they had been fighting over who was the true ruler of the human race, and they did not agree with each other at all. On the other hand, the Nether Temple and Pure Yang Temple, which were both transcendent forces, kept a low profile. The Nether Temple only sent the Nether Temple's sacred lord. He stood alone in midair. His aura was extremely cold, and no one dared to approach him. Of course, he was not the Nether Temple's sacred lord. Instead, he was the Tongxian realm expert that Lung Shiqi released from the Nether Temple's tomb, Yuju Lin. The Pure Yang Temple was even more low-profile than the Nether Temple. Over the years, people from the Nether Temple would occasionally appear. However, the Pure Yang Temple had not appeared for hundreds of years. Only one person from the Pure Yang Temple came. No one present knew him. He was an old man in a white robe. He stood on the ground as usual with an indifferent expression. The Yin Yang Temple had not appeared in public for many years. At first, they thought that they were 2 opposing forces. However, they did not know each other after meeting each other. They did not even interact with each other. It was obvious that the others had thought too much. There were 10 Tongxian realm experts in the world's sect ranking. There were also 3 Tongxian realm experts who had hidden themselves from the world. With 13 Tongxian realm experts gathered here, if not for the birth of the Holy City, it would be impossible to see such a shocking scene. 6 Directions Spirit Sovereign felt that it was strange. The people who had spoiled his plans twice did not come. One of them cultivated the law of earth, while the other had an invincible body. However, he knew all the Tongxian realm experts present. Those 2 were not among them. There was also a reincarnation master from the Thunderfire dynasty, who had yet to appear. He did not know if he was guarding the Thunderfire dynasty, or hiding in the dark. The golden light surrounding the holy city became fainter and fainter. Countless spirit cultivators surrounded the holy city in circles. It could not be described as tens of thousands, but hundreds of millions. Every day, the atmosphere in Lingbei County became more and more tense. No one wanted to miss the great opportunity of the holy city's birth. Even if those low-level spirit cultivators knew that they were not fated with the holy city, they would not have lived their lives in vain after witnessing such a grand scene. Until one day, the golden light faded into a thin layer of golden mist. 6 Directions Spirit Sovereign suddenly burst forth and successfully passed through the golden light. The battle for the holy city had begun. Chapter 920. 6 Directions Spirit Sovereign opened the curtains to a battle. The other Tongxian realm experts immediately followed closely behind and forced their way into the golden radiance. The Sky Origin realm experts also tried, but unfortunately, no one succeeded. As expected, the stronger one was, the higher the chance of success. The only special one was Old Man Xiao. He tore open space with a single hand, and opened up a spatial passageway in the golden radiance that led directly to the holy city. "Let's go," Old Man Xiao led the Thunderfire Dynasty's Sky Origin Realm experts into the passageway. Seeing this scene, everyone exclaimed loudly, "Wow, that's the Thunderfire Dynasty's Old Man Xiao, the Tongxian Realm expert. How did he do it?" A spirit cultivator from the Thunderfire Dynasty said proudly, "Ignorant. Old Man Xiao cultivates the space law, which is one of the highest laws. It's easy for him to shatter the void." Leng Shiqi was also in the passageway. As long as he entered, it would mean that everyone from the underworld had entered as well. It had to be said that the space law was indeed very powerful in this situation. After walking through the passageway, he arrived at the Golden Radiance. At this moment, he was in a huge square that was shining with golden radiance. The other 12 Tongxian realm cultivators couldn't help but frown when they saw Old Master Qiao walking in with his entourage. No one expected that the Thunderfire Dynasty would be the first to gain the upper hand. Leng Shiqi looked over. The place they were in was very big, and it would not be a problem to accommodate hundreds of thousands of people. In front of them stood a majestic wall that stretched endlessly. In the middle of it was a huge golden door that was dozens of feet tall. That was the door to the Holy City. Between the golden door and the square, there were 4 stone pillars that were dozens of feet thick and towered into the clouds. However, everyone's gaze was fixed on the door, but no one dared to step forward. No one knew if there were any arrays here. As the saying went, whoever made the first move would lose. It was better to wait and see. 6 directions Spirit Sovereign's vertical eye swept across the surroundings. His gaze paused on the 4 stone pillars for a moment, before moving to other places. This action was not hidden from the others. Luoying Spirit Sovereign gracefully turned around and said, "6 directions Spirit Sovereign's illusion breaker spirit eyes can see through all things. You must have discovered something." 6 directions Spiritual Senior cursed in his heart. This shameless woman. Spirit Exalted Luoying noticed his little actions, but she didn't send him a sound transmission. Instead, she openly spoke about it, causing him to become the center of attention. The Mystic Comprehending Realm Cultivators and the Thunderblaze Dynasty's Heavenly Origin Realm Cultivators all looked at 6 directions Spiritual Sovereign at the same time. Old Master Qiao stroked his beard and laughed in his heart. Indeed, 6 directions Spiritual Supremacy was the center of attention wherever he went. It just so happened that all the attention was diverted to him. Huangwei Spiritual Sovereign sneered. "We are now on the same side. Only by entering the Holy City as soon as possible can we find more opportunities. If the hundreds of Heaven Origin Stage cultivators come in, you won't be able to deal with them, even though you are a Tongxian Stage cultivator." Not bad. The last of the 4 sacred spiritual realms, Spirit Sovereign Wuji, added, "Liuha, no matter what we discover, we can share it. Right now, the most important thing is to enter the Holy City. If I find any clues, I will take the initiative to inform you." Disdainful 6 directions Spiritual Sovereign thought to himself. "What can an ignorant man like you find?" Left with no choice, 6 directions Spiritual Sovereign could only say, "Look carefully at the patterns on the 4 stone pillars. I am not sure about the others, but I am very familiar with the pattern on this one." Everyone looked over, and saw that the stone pillar he was pointing at was engraved with the pattern of gods. Just looking at it gave people the urge to kneel down and worship it. Leng Shiqi immediately recognized that it was the 6 directions divine statue that 6 directions Spiritual Sovereign had once used. Spirit Exalted Luoying said softly, "This stone pillar is actually engraved with the falling cherry divine art. This is the Emperor's might divine sword, and the 8 ultimates martial arts." The 4 sacred spiritual realms domain masters all saw that the engravings on the stone pillars were actually the strongest spiritual techniques that had been passed down in their spiritual realms for a long time. Wuma Yuanqing of the Starfall dynasty stepped forward and said, "Legend has it that the Holy City was built by the 4 sages. If I may be so bold, I guess that these 4 stone pillars are the key to entering the Holy City." No one present was a fool. They quickly realized that perhaps only the combined transmission of the 4 sages could open the gates to the Holy City. Wuma Yuanqing continued, "I believe everyone has guessed it. The 4 of you are the true inheritors of the 4 sages. It is only reasonable that you are the ones who open the gates to the holy city. Even so, if the four of us can really open the gates to the holy city, you will be the ones who will benefit. No matter how you look at it, it is not worth it. Spirit Exalted Luo Ying's red lips moved slightly as she calculated. That's right. Spirit Exalted Wu Ji agreed. We will exhaust all our spiritual energy to open the gates, but you will be able to take the opportunity to enter the holy city. It will be a loss. The mystic comprehending realm cultivators looked at each other and secretly communicated with each other. Wuma Yuanqing said, "The four of you are right. How about this? If you can really open the gates to the holy city, as long as the four of you are the first to arrive, we will not fight for any of the treasures inside. Of course, there will only be one chance." Spirit Exalted Six Directions' eyes flashed. This meant that they could at least avoid a battle. After all, their opponents were all mystic comprehending realm cultivators. This was already a huge advantage. The four of them did not push their luck and nodded. Shortly after, the divine light behind Spirit Exalted Six Directions shot into the sky, and six heavenly divine statues descended. Spirit Exalted Luo Ying's hands flew and instantly formed countless spiritual seals. Countless gorgeous cherry blossoms floated and formed a flower god. Spirit Exalted Emperor's might formed a sword with his fingers, and in an instant, a brilliant heavenly might descended from the sky. A divine sword filled with divine light stood in mid-air, as if it could slash the heavens and split the earth. Spirit Exalted Wu Ji split into eight, and eight identical illusory figures executed eight spiritual techniques at the same time. Their fists broke the heavens, and their palms split the four seas. Their might was unparalleled. Immediately after, something that shocked everyone happened. The flower god formed by the Six Directions divine statues and Spirit Exalted Luo Ying merged with Spirit Exalted Wu Ji's illusory figure, as if it was alive. The Emperor's might divine sword also automatically flew into the hands of the last illusory figure. These four powerful spiritual techniques could actually undergo such a transformation. Spirit Exalted Six Directions, and the other three were so shocked that they could not close their mouths. As the saying goes, kings do not meet kings. Even though the four saint spiritual regions did not get along well with each other, there had never been a situation where the four of them fought each other. These four spiritual techniques had never appeared at the same time, so even they themselves did not know that these four completely different spiritual techniques were actually related to each other. Just as everyone was in shock, they heard a weak sound. When they turned their heads to look, they saw that the tightly shut gates of the holy city had unknowingly opened by a sliver. Things were indeed as they had guessed. The four saint spiritual regions were the key to opening the holy city. Spirit Exalted Six Directions was delighted. Since they needed the power of the four saint spiritual regions to enter the holy city, it would definitely be beneficial to them inside the holy city. Chapter 921. The series of changes caused everyone's hearts to tremble. However, at this moment, the golden gate of the holy city suddenly opened, and a blinding divine light suddenly shone out. The speed of the divine light was extremely fast, so fast that even the mystic comprehending realm cultivators could not dodge in time. Fortunately, the divine light did not harm them. Instead, it pulled them into the holy city. The moment the divine light spread, Six Directions Spirit Sovereign glanced at Lung Shiqi, and killing intent rose in his eyes. Lung Shiqi only saw a golden flash in front of his eyes, and he arrived in another world. What greeted him was incomparably dense origin energy of heaven and earth. It was not spiritual energy, but origin energy of heaven and earth. The origin energy of heaven and earth here was actually several times denser than the outside world. With more origin energy of heaven and earth, it meant that the Sky Origin Realm cultivators here would be stronger. The strength of a Sky Origin Realm cultivator was determined by how much origin energy they could mobilize. For example, Xian Haoying, who was at the peak of the Sky Origin Realm, could probably unleash combat power close to that of a mystic comprehending realm cultivator here. Similarly, the power of law here was obviously more obvious than the outside world. Everyone's strength had increased, which meant that everyone was still the same. Lung Shiqi looked around, and all he could see were strange creatures. At the very least, he had never seen them on the Starfall continent. The Holy City seemed to be no longer on the Starfall continent. Where could the passage be? Lung Shiqi was most concerned about the passage out of the continent. If he were to search for it alone, it would undoubtedly be like looking for a needle in a haystack. He directly pulled Meng Tianzong, 9-Leave, Hateful Blade, 2-Dang, and the others into the Holy City through the Mansion of the Dead. The few of them split up to search for clues. Lung Shiqi took advantage of the fact that there was no one around, and released a large number of underworld beasts from the Mansion of the Dead to search around. He might be able to find some clues. He casually flew in a direction. Along the way, he encountered some natural treasures, but he did not even look at them. These things were no longer important to him. While he was searching for the passage, the other powerful cultivators had their own fortuitous encounters. In a deep icy lake, a hunchbacked old man in a fiery robe was surrounded by flames. The entire lake was evaporating, and the water vapor dispersed, revealing a monster. It turned out that there was a huge snake that was dozens of feet long coiled in the deep pool. It looked like a snake, but it wasn't a snake. It looked like a flood dragon, but it wasn't a flood dragon. Although it had the body of a snake, there was a horn on its head, and its eyes flashed with lightning. As the cold pond evaporated, the giant beast roared in anger and soared into the air, charging towards the Canon Elder. The old man gently waved his hand, and in an instant, clouds of fire covered the sky. One after another, giant flaming hands descended from the sky. As the old man clenched his fist, the giant beast let out a wail, and its body was crushed into pieces of charcoal. The smell of burnt flesh and blood filled the surroundings. The old man pointed his finger, and a long sword suddenly shot out from the deep pool and landed in his hand. The giant beast had been guarding this sword. He lowered his head and saw that the sword was covered in rust. The spirit power in the old man's body burst forth. With a flash of fire, the rust disappeared, and the long sword shone with a sharp edge again. The old man gently stroked the sword, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. Its sharpness is comparable to a level 7 artifact weapon, but the power it contains is extremely strange. If it's not an artifact spirit, what could it be? Sure enough, there are treasures everywhere in the Holy City. He was about to continue searching for other fortuitous encounters when a figure suddenly appeared. It was 6 Directions Spirit Supremacy. 6 Directions Spirit Supremacy saw that the old man had obtained an extraordinary treasure as soon as he entered the Holy City. He was not envious at all. Instead, he smiled and said, "Brother Enigma Flame, you obtained an artifact weapon as soon as you entered the Holy City. You have great fortune." It turned out that this old man was the reclusive mystic comprehending itinerant cultivator, Enigma Flame Taoist. 6 Directions Spirit Supremacy? Enigma Flame Taoist immediately became vigilant. You and I have always minded our own business. You look for your fortuitous encounter, and I'll look for my treasure. Goodbye. Wait. This holy city isn't a city at all. It's like another world. Currently, there doesn't seem to be any danger. There are even natural treasures everywhere. However, the strength of a single person is weak. Since you and I are so close to each other, it must be fate. Moreover, there is no enmity between us. Why don't we join forces? Also, I have a deal here. I wonder if Brother Enigma Flame is willing to listen. 6 Directions Spirit Supremacy pretended to be mysterious. Enigma Flame Taoist stopped in his tracks. Among the 13 mystic comprehending cultivators who entered, his strength was below average. However, 6 Directions Spirit Supremacy was definitely one of the strongest. If he could join forces with him, it would naturally be a good thing. However, Enigma Flame Taoist had long heard that 6 Directions Spirit Supremacy was an ambitious person. Joining forces with him would be like asking a tiger for its skin. He was somewhat hesitant. 6 Directions Spirit Supremacy took the opportunity to say, "Brother Enigma Flame might have some misgivings. It's all right. Why don't we make a deal first? You help me kill a person, and I'll help you once. How about that? Kill someone?" Enigma Flame Taoist shook his head without much consideration. If even 6 directions spirit supremacy could not kill someone, his strength could be imagined. He would not get involved in this mess. Brother Enigma Flame, don't be in a hurry to refuse. The person I want to kill is only at the Heaven Origin realm. Moreover, he only broke through to the Heaven Origin realm 10 years ago. 6 directions spirit supremacy said with cold killing intent. This person is Lung Shiqi, the Thunderblaze dynasty's king of the Western Wilderness. Brother Enigma Flame, just ask around and you'll know that I'm telling the truth. Heaven Origin realm? Enigma Flame Taoist was even more puzzled. It's easy for 6 directions spirit supremacy to kill a Heaven Origin realm cultivator. There's no need for me to do it. Through my illusion breaker spirit eyes, I can roughly see his location. The Thunderblaze dynasty's old man Xiao is not far from him. If I were to make a move, I would definitely be stopped. Therefore, I purposely lured old man Xiao away, so that Brother Enigma Flame can take the opportunity to instantly kill Lung Shiqi. Only then can I resolve the hatred in my heart. 6 directions spirit supremacy had revealed Lung Shiqi's identity before he became the Bloodcloth Pavilion. 6 directions spirit supremacy wanted to use the Thunderblaze dynasty to destroy the Bloodcloth Pavilion. Who would have thought that the Thunderblaze dynasty did not care at all, and did not even make a move? After careful investigation, 6 directions spirit supremacy discovered that when he led his men to attack the imperial capital, there was a low-level spirit cultivator who overestimated his strength who came to stop him. It was that person who helped the Thunderblaze dynasty stall for time, allowing the mystic comprehending realm cultivator, who cultivated the law of earth to arrive. And that person was Lung Shiqi. He had planned for a long time, and this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity was ruined because of a Lung Shiqi. Later on, Lung Shiqi even succeeded as the pavilion master of the Bloodcloth Pavilion, causing 6 directions spirit supremacy to hate him to the bone. Now that he had come to the holy city, he had to kill Lung Shiqi. Enigma Flame Taoist calculated in his heart. Killing a mere Heaven Origin realm cultivator was as easy as flipping his hand. If he could exchange this for a favor from 6 directions spirit supremacy, it was definitely the best deal. This kid actually dared to anger 6 directions spirit supremacy. Don't worry, he won't live for long. Chapter 922. Lung Shiqi naturally did not know that 6 directions spiritual sovereign had set up a trap to kill him. He was still searching for the legendary passageway. However, at that moment, he sensed a powerful fluctuation in front of him. Someone must be fighting for something in front of him. This was a common occurrence, so he did not want to interfere. He scanned with his divine perception, and his expression changed slightly. There were 3 Tongxian realm experts fighting in front of him. They were not fighting each other, but 2 of them were working together to kill one person. That person was the Thunderfire Dynasty's Tongxian realm expert, Old Master Qiao. The one attacking him was the Starfall Dynasty's new Tongxian realm expert, Ingqinhe, and the Divine Lotus Fairy, a reclusive rogue cultivator. Both of them were from the Starfall Dynasty, so it was normal for them to work together. Old Master Qiao cultivated the law of space, but he could not fight 2 people at the same time. Ingqinhe laughed loudly. Old Master Qiao, admit defeat and hand over the spirit flower. Otherwise, don't blame us for being merciless. Once you're injured, you might die in the holy city, and the Thunderfire Dynasty will be in danger. You know you're not a match for us, yet you're still so stubborn. It seems that the spirit flower is really important to us. The Divine Lotus Fairy was dressed in white, and her beauty was unparalleled. Old Master Qiao's expression was gloomy. He had found a treasure not long after entering the holy city, and he had spent a lot of effort to kill the monster guarding the treasure. In the end, he was ambushed by Ingqinhe and the Divine Lotus Fairy just as he obtained the spirit flower. What's the point of relying on numbers? Lung Shiqi appeared on the scene, and the 3 of them immediately stopped what they were doing. Those who dared to interfere in their battle were undoubtedly Tongxian realm experts. They turned around and were stunned. The Divine Lotus Fairy did not recognize Lung Shiqi at all, and Ingqinhe only recognized him after some hesitation. However, the 2 of them looked at Lung Shiqi as if they were looking at an idiot. A mere heaven origin realm expert dared to interfere in the battle of 3 Tongxian realm experts? Was he courting death? You're the Thunderfire dynasty's king of the West, Lung Shiqi. You're so young, yet you don't know how to conceal your strength. Whatever. Killing you along the way can be considered as getting rid of a lackey of the Thunderflame dynasty. Ng Qinhe sneered, his killing intent surging. Old man Qiao was also shocked. Lung Shiqi, why are you here? This is not a place you can come. Leave. In his heart, Lung Shiqi was the pillar of the next generation of the Thunderflame dynasty, and he could not afford to lose him. Unexpectedly, Lung Shiqi shook his head. There are many people who want to kill me, but I'm still alive. You treat me like an idiot, and I feel the same way about you. You can't even detect my presence here. Idiot. As soon as he finished speaking, Lung Shiqi turned into a streak of black light and appeared in front of the divine lotus fairy in an instant. Boundless energy of death condensed, and a sword of death appeared in his hand. As the sword pierced out, it was as though the gates of hell had been opened. Boundless energy of the netherworld covered the sky and swept across the world. Sword Dao of Death. The 3 metaphysical realm experts were shocked. Lung Shiqi's power was definitely at the metaphysical realm, and it was even stronger than Ng Qinhe's, who had just entered the metaphysical realm. He had been hiding his cultivation all this time. Naturally, the 3 people present had different thoughts. First, Old Man Qiao was more surprised than shocked. Lung Shiqi was actually at the metaphysical realm, which meant that the Thunderflame dynasty had another stabilizing force. What made him feel even more strange was that he was extremely familiar with this Sword Dao of Death. This was clearly the Sword Dao of the Master of Samsara. At this moment, Old Man Qiao finally understood that the Master of Samsara was Lung Shiqi. In other words, Lung Shiqi had broken through to the metaphysical realm more than 10 years ago. But how old was Lung Shiqi at that time? Old Man Qiao couldn't help but sigh. The younger generation will surpass us in time. On the other hand, Ng Qinhe's expression turned ugly. Lung Shiqi's power was actually stronger than his. Not only would he not be able to obtain the spiritual flower today, but the Thunderflame dynasty's threat in the Holy City would also increase exponentially. What was more terrifying was that the Thunderflame dynasty seemed to have the ability to fight against the Starfall dynasty head-on. Of the 3 people, the most shocked was of course the Divine Lotus Fairy, who was facing the Sword Dao of Death head-on. Unexpectedly, her palm landed lightly, and a dreamlike fantasy country immediately appeared in midair, using the power of a country to suppress the Sword Dao of Death. The surrounding space was compressed. The Divine Lotus Fairy's palm seemed to cover an area of the sky, sealing this part of the world within. However, Lung Shiqi's Sword Dao of Death had already surpassed the so-called sword moves and spiritual techniques. This was the will of death that he had comprehended in the underworld, and it was as if it was made by nature. Even though it was suppressed by the fantasy realm, it was still full of destructive power. Lung Shiqi's eyes bloomed with the light of death, and his Sword Dao of Death reached its peak, instantly causing the fantasy realm to explode. Before the Divine Lotus Fairy could retreat, Lung Shiqi slashed out with his saber again. The 3 realms of God, Devil, and Buddha descended, severing the physical body from the outside, the soul from the inside, and the negative karma from the heart. Short-lived, 3 gods blade world. This series of changes made the 3 of them unable to react. Just now, it was a terrifying sword that seemed to have pierced out from hell. It was already shocking enough that he could grasp such a terrifying Sword Dao of Death. However, he had suddenly slashed out such a powerful saber strike that could split the heavens and earth. How could he cultivate 2 completely different laws at the same time? Tongxian realm. Those who could comprehend a trace of the law of heaven and earth were in the Tongxian realm. Generally speaking, it was already extremely difficult to comprehend a single law. Thus, more than 90% of Tongxian realm experts were proficient in a single law. And the Lung Shiqi had revealed 2 types. It was not that there were no experts who cultivated multiple laws, but there had never been one as young as Lung Shiqi. The Divine Lotus Fairy could barely block the Sword Dao of Death, but she could not block the 3 gods' blade world. She turned into countless white lotuses that surged in all directions, and the three gods' blade whirled instantly cut down more than half of the white lotuses. The divine lotus fairy's figure appeared a few hundred feet away. Her face was slightly pale, and her expression was extremely serious. If she had dodged a little slower, she would have been injured. Ing Qinhe immediately wanted to attack Leng Shiqi, but Old Man Xiao blocked him. Ing Qinhe, do you think this old man doesn't exist? Ing Qinhe knew that he could not do anything to his opponent. Leng Shiqi had only used 2 moves to put the divine lotus fairy at a disadvantage. Although she was a rogue cultivator, how could anyone who could cultivate to the Tongxian realm be weak? Moreover, she had reached the Tongxian realm 100 years ago. Compared to Ing Qinhe, who had just reached the Tongxian realm, she was slightly stronger. In other words, Leng Shiqi was stronger than either of them. In addition, Old Man Xiao, who cultivated the law of space, was also stronger. If it was 2 against 2, they had no confidence at all. Let's go. Ing Qinhe coldly snorted, then turned and left. The divine lotus fairy glared at Leng Shiqi fiercely, then left as well. Old Man Xiao turned and smiled. Leng Shiqi, oh Leng Shiqi, you really tricked this old man. Chapter 923. I didn't mean to hide it. Please don't blame me. Leng Shiqi's attitude was very humble. Seeing Leng Shiqi like this, Old Man Xiao was even more satisfied. How could I blame you? It would have been better for you to hide. Unfortunately, you exposed yourself in order to help me out. Actually, I could have escaped at any time, but that would have cost me a lot of spirit energy. You didn't have to take the risk. Old man, you are the pillar of the Thunderflame dynasty. I can't let you fall into any danger. Haha, let's not talk too much. Old Man Xiao flipped his hand and took out a strange flower. This flower only had a single green petal. It looked a bit strange. However, that lone petal was actually emitting the aura of the pure law of wood. It was actually a treasure that contained the power of law. No wonder Ing Qinhe and the divine lotus fairy were so envious. Old Man Xiao handed the spirit flower over. The 2 of them were fighting over this flower. I don't know what it's called. You were the one who defeated the 2 of them, so it should be yours. Old man is too polite. This treasure is yours. I don't dare to take it. Leng Shiqi didn't take it. In truth, this treasure didn't have any practical meaning to him. It's not that I don't appreciate it, but this treasure is of no use to me. Seeing Leng Shiqi so determined, Old Man Xiao said, Fine, I won't force you. This place is filled with treasures. If you find a suitable treasure, it'll be yours. From what he said, he was planning to travel with Leng Shiqi. That was how it should be. However, Leng Shiqi had a difficult expression. Old man, the treasure is a small matter. I think it's better to gather the Heaven Origin Realm cultivators. The monsters here are quite strong. The key is that if they encounter the profound comprehending experts of other dynasties, it'll be terrible. I suggest we split up and gather everyone together. It'll be safer and easier to find treasures. That's true. Take this. As long as we're within 5,000 kilometers, we'll be able to sense each other. Old Man Xiao took out a jade pendant. All right, I'll take my leave first. Take care of yourself, old master. With that, Leng Shiqi turned into a stream of light and left. Old Master Qiao sighed with emotion. The student surpassed the master and flew in the other direction. The reason why Leng Shiqi revealed part of his strength was to avoid some trouble. After all, it was inconvenient for a Tianyuan cultivator to walk around here. Not only could he help Old Master Qiao out of his predicament, but it would also be beneficial to him. It could be considered as killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Several hundred miles away, 6 Directions Spirit Sovereign and enigmatic Flame Taoist had gloomy expressions. They had clearly seen the battle between Leng Shiqi and Divine Lotus Fairy. Enigmatic Flame Maestro said in a low voice, Liuhe, this is the Heaven Origin Realm brat you spoke of. 6 Directions Spiritual Supremacy had fought with Leng Shiqi before. Naturally, he recognized the Death Sword Principle and the 3 Gods Saber Realm. Leng Shiqi was the mysterious expert who had stopped him from entering the Blood Garment Pavilion. So it's you. It's actually you. Even 6 Directions Spiritual Supremacy was shocked beyond words. Leng Shiqi, You've already broken through to the mystic comprehending realm 10 years ago, but you've been hiding your identity. No wonder you succeeded the Blood Garment Pavilion. And no wonder the Thunderblaze dynasty kept quiet. You've hidden yourself well. Six Directions' spiritual supremacy also felt like his intelligence had been insulted. He had clearly been made a fool of. Not only did the killing intent in his heart not decrease, but it also grew stronger. If he did not kill such a peerless genius now, who would be able to kill him in the future? Enigmatic Flame, I'll definitely kill him. Just state your conditions. Still want to kill him? Enigmatic Flame Taoist shook his head. You should know best how difficult it is to kill a mystic comprehending realm cultivator. Even if the two of us can injure him, we can't kill him. Who said it's just the two of us? Six Directions' spiritual supremacy smiled sinisterly. What do you mean, spiritual supremacy? Six Directions' spiritual supremacy narrowed his eyes and said, that Lung Shiqi is from the Thunderblaze dynasty. His existence is a great threat to the Starfall dynasty, and he's also made enemies. Enigmatic Flame Taoist understood. Spiritual supremacy, you want to pull Ing Qinhe and the Divine Lotus Fairy into our alliance. If the two of them agree, we'll have a high chance of killing Lung Shiqi with 4 mystic comprehending realm cultivators. However, there's a condition. Old Man Qiao must be lured away. Six Directions' spiritual supremacy's delusion breaker spirit eye flashed with a dazzling light. Then his face revealed a look of surprise, which quickly turned into a look of ecstasy. Ha ha ha, there's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. That Lung Shiqi actually took the initiative to leave Old Man Qiao. He's really courting death. Let's go, we'll go finding Qinhe and the Divine Lotus Fairy now. The two of them turned into streaks of light and quickly swept across the sky. On the other side, the Divine Lotus Fairy said to Ing Qinhe with a displeased expression, look at the kind of people you've provoked. They insisted on fighting over a spirit flower, but now, they've gone for wool and come home shorn. Enough. If you didn't covet that spirit flower, why would you join forces with me? I've heard that the Divine Lotus Fairy's abilities are strange and unfathomable. In the end, you were defeated by a rising star in 2 moves. I'm afraid you don't live up to your reputation. Ing Qinhe had a powerful background in the Starfall dynasty, so his words were unyielding. The Divine Lotus Fairy was both angry and annoyed. Don't just stand there and talk. Go and fight that Lung Shiqi. He won't even need to take a breather after 2 moves. With such strength, even Wuma Yuanjie won't be able to win against him. Fairy, you're exaggerating too much. Ing Qinhe didn't believe her. Wuma Yuanjie was the strongest person in the Starfall dynasty, and he cultivated 2 types of laws of heaven and earth at the same time. In the entire world, no one dared to say that they could beat him. Just as the two were bickering, 2 other streams of light pierced through the air and arrived. Ing Qinhe and the Divine Lotus Fairy immediately became vigilant. Bickering was one thing, but they were still in an alliance for now. Six Directions' Spirit Sovereign and Enigmatic Flame Taoist withdrew their spiritual light. Do you two have time to listen to this, Sovereign? In another broken ruin, an old beggar in ragged clothes muttered, the original building style and materials are not from the Starfall continent. This is indeed a broken world fragment. What did the 4 sages want to do when they used the holy city to trap this world fragment? In another monster cave, a young man with half his face burned was holding a purple bead in his hand. He said, it looks a bit like a Yao core, but it's not. What kind of monsters are these? Back then, the desolate Heaven Demon Emperor told me to keep a low profile and find a chance to enter the holy city. This means that the holy city is the key to breaking through that barrier. In a rippling lake, a mysterious blue-robed man stepped on the surface of the water. It's the same water, but it's made up of different energies. Does this mean that the same law power will be different? I think I understand. Chapter 924. Inside an abandoned palace, 2 Heaven Origin Realm cultivators from the Thunderblaze dynasty were working together to break a formation. Just as they were about to succeed, 4 figures strangely appeared behind them. Only then did the 2 realize it, but it was already too late. A moment later, Six Directions Spirit Sovereign carried the two unconscious people and said, Lung Shiqi is flying in this direction. He's not very fast, so he must be looking for something. He won't miss this palace. If he discovers that someone is trying to kill the Heaven Origin Realm cultivators of the Thunderblaze dynasty, he will definitely save them. That will be our chance. Six Directions Spirit Sovereign quickly convinced Qinhe and the Divine Lotus Fairy. They all wanted to kill Lung Shiqi, so they quickly formed an alliance. Right now, they had thought of a good way to ambush Lung Shiqi. Now, we need one of us to show up and attract Lung Shiqi's attention. We also need to fight him. While he's unprepared, the other three will attack with all their strength. Lung Shiqi will definitely die or be crippled. Six Directions Spirit Sovereign looked at the other three as he spoke. The four of them looked at each other, and finally looked at Enigma Flame Taoist. Among the four of them, only Enigma Flame Taoist had not seen Lung Shiqi before, so there was no grudge between them. Lung Shiqi would never think that Enigma Flame Taoist was a trap. Enigma Flame Taoist immediately felt great pressure, but the arrow was already knocked, so he could only agree. Not long after, Lung Shiqi passed by the palace and found two Heaven Origin Realm cultivators of the Thunderblaze dynasty fleeing in a sorry state. He subconsciously scanned with his divine perception, and a sinister smile appeared on his face. His cultivation had long surpassed the mystic comprehending realm. No matter how well Six Directions Spirit Sovereign and the other two hid, they were still instantly discovered by him. Lung Shiqi was filled with killing intent as he thought. Good fella, so they wanted to ambush me. Just nice, I need a few mystic comprehending realm heads. He then descended from the sky and stood in front of Lung Shiqi. When the two Heavenly Origin Realm martial artists saw Lung Shiqi, they were shocked. Lung Shiqi, run. This old man is a Tongxian Realm martial artist. Lung Shiqi didn't say anything. He waved his hand, and a powerful force sent the two men hundreds of miles away. He asked coldly, Who are you? Why are you chasing after the people of my Thunderblaze dynasty? Enigma Flame Old Man put on an act and even mocked. Who are you to dare meddle in this old master's business? Besides, the treasures in this holy city are ownerless. Whoever is stronger will own them. Leave quickly, and this old man will spare your life for now. Lung Shiqi seemed to have gone mad. Whoever you say is stronger will be the winner. Let's see who is stronger. Before he finished speaking, the ash wolf behind him howled at the moon and punched out, shaking the mountains and shaking the earth. Enigma Flame Old Man's face was filled with anger, but he was laughing in his heart. As expected, he's still young. Just a few words and he's already enraged. He formed a strange seal with both hands, and a demonic god phantom dyed in dark green flames appeared behind him. It held the Inferno Divine Spear and stabbed at Lung Shiqi. The terrifying law of fire cleansed the void, and the divine spear broke Lung Shiqi's punch. Lung Shiqi clenched his fists, and a loud explosion sounded. The ear-piercing sound of the explosion scattered the surrounding heaven and earth origin chi. His pure physical strength almost tore the void apart. Enigma Flame Old Man's Inferno Divine Spear was directly shattered by the punch, and even the flame divinity behind him shook. What powerful strength! Enigma Flame Old Man was shocked. He finally experienced what the Divine Lotus Fairy felt. If he were to fight Lung Shiqi alone, he would probably be suppressed from start to finish. However, he knew that now was not the best time for Six Direction Spirit Sovereign and the others to make a move. He changed the seal in his hand, and a strange fire god bow condensed in the flame divinity's hand. The dark green flames became more and more gloomy, no longer burning the sky. Instead, they turned into eroding flames. Just the aura alone made his primordial spirit feel a burning pain. Lung Shiqi's body shone with golden light, and the roars of dragons filled the sky. 9 giant dragons burning with raging flames roared out, and the law of fire in the world almost condensed into substance. Half of the sky was dyed red gold. This was the red gold earth dragon flame, which had evolved into its ultimate state, and was able to trigger the law of heaven and earth. In an instant, the overbearing burning power of the red gold earth dragon flame began to melt Enigma Flame Old Man's divine phantom. He could not even shoot out the arrows of eroding flames, and was forced to retreat. He found it even harder to believe that he would be defeated by flames. There were many spirit cultivators in the world who cultivated flames, but he was the only one in the mystic comprehending realm. This was what he had always been proud of. But now Lung Shiqi's appearance had almost shattered his belief. Lung Shiqi was proficient in both sword and saber, had a strong physical body, and had even comprehended the law of fire. Why did the heavens allow such a person to exist? Enigma Flame Old Man, who originally had no grudges with Lung Shiqi, felt boundless killing intent for the first time. He secretly shouted, "Why aren't you making a move? What are you waiting for?" In the corner, Ingqinha's palm fell. The surrounding heaven and earth origin chi instantly condensed, and then exploded. The violent power was held in his hand, and even the surrounding void was faintly torn apart. This was the long passed down 9th-level spiritual technique of the Starfall dynasty, the Great Palm Print. At the same time, lotus flowers fell from the sky like rain. Each lotus flower contained a terrifying power. The divine lotus fairy made a hand seal, and countless lotus flowers exploded. Not only did they ignite the power of heaven and earth, but they also cooperated with Ingqinha's power to seal off all of Lung Shiqi's escape routes. Finally, 6 Directions Spirit Sovereign brazenly made his move. Above the 9 heavens, divine light bloomed and tore open the sky. 6 divine statues that seemed to have come from ancient times descended. At this moment, the space seemed to stagnate. The power was so strong that even heaven and earth could not withstand it. It was not the 6 Directions divine statues, but the 6 Directions sacred statues. It was an object that 6 Directions Holy Sovereign had created back then. Every time the 6 Directions sacred statues were used, it would consume a large amount of origin energy. In order to kill Lung Shiqi, 6 Directions Spirit Sovereign did not hold back at all. Lung Shiqi's expression did not change. The 10,000 Beasts Dharma idol instantly appeared around him. The phantom of the divine beast supported him, causing his physical strength to reach the limit. He still threw out a simple punch, but this punch faintly caused the heavens and earth to tremble. The power of the punch, which could shatter all things, directly shattered the great yuan-splitting palm, and even blasted the lotus flowers that filled the sky into pieces. It was also at this moment that the eyes of the 6 sacred statues lit up with a terrifying divine light. It was as if they had come to life. They formed seals one after another, and countless divine light condensed into a heavenly net in midair that fell towards Lung Shiqi. There was the power of wind and fire, as well as the power of life and slaughter, saber force, sword intent, and various other powers. These 6 sacred statues were like 6 mystic comprehending realm elites. Chapter 925. Lung Shiqi mumbled as the holy statues of 6 harmonies descended with boundless divine aura. They do look like Ascension Realm cultivators, but it's just a facade. What holy statues of 6 harmonies? They're just a bunch of inanimate objects. The sword will of death exploded, forming 6 sword shadows behind Lung Shiqi. Countless thoughts of death, resentment, and hatred spread out. This was the most extreme sort of evil thoughts in the world, and it should not exist in this world. The 6 sword shadows slashed out instantly, heading straight for the 6 holy statues. In an instant, the laws of heaven and earth shook, and the space exploded. The sword of evil thoughts was far more terrifying than anyone had expected. It broke through the various forces like the heavenly net, and landed heavily on the holy statues. With a series of loud bangs, the heavenly net was torn apart, and even the 6 idols had a clear crack on them. How is this possible? 6 Harmonies' spiritual supremacy was shocked and furious. What kind of sword principle was that? It could easily break the heavenly net, and even damage his holy statues. Each holy statue was personally created by 6 Harmonies' spiritual supremacy, and it was not something a Tongxian realm cultivator could break. While he was shocked, his heart was bleeding. Not only did the holy statues he summoned lose their saint power, but they were also damaged. It was as if a piece of his heart had been dug out. Of course, it was impossible to do this with just the sword principle of death. Lung Shiqi had attached a trace of the law of reincarnation to the sword principle of death. Any force that came into contact with the law of reincarnation would be rotated thousands of times in an instant, until it disappeared without a trace. The combined attack of 4 Tongxian realm cultivators had been completely neutralized by Leng Shiqi. It's my turn. He smiled coldly. With a flip of his hand, a dark golden brilliance spread out, forming a dark golden canopy hundreds of miles wide in the blink of an eye. Immediately, 6 Harmony's spiritual supremacy and the other 3 Tongxian realm cultivators felt 1,000-fold, 10,000-fold gravity on their bodies. The ground cracked and collapsed continuously, and it only stopped after a few hundred feet. The 4 Tongxian realm cultivators were surrounded by spiritual light of various colors, and the power of law protected their bodies. Even so, it could not hide the shock on their faces. The law of gravity. He has mastered the law of earth as well? No, we're all Tongxian realm cultivators. Why is his gravity suppressing all 4 of us? It's you, it's all you. Other than being shocked, the 4 of them had different reactions. Ing Qinhe, profound flame Taoist, and Sacred Lotus Fairy were even more incredulous. As for 6 Direction Spirit Sovereign, he seemed to have recalled something. He finally understood that the Tongxian realm cultivator, who had stopped him in the imperial capital, was Leng Shiqi. That's true, Leng Shiqi. From the beginning to the end, the person who ruined his plans again and again was Leng Shiqi. The 6 Direction spiritual sovereign was seething with anger, and his spiritual power suddenly erupted. He actually forcibly withstood the 10,000-fold gravity and pointed a finger at the sky. Divine light condensed in midair like a cage, wanting to strangle Leng Shiqi within it. Do you think there's only gravity? Leng Shiqi pointed with his finger, and an unremarkable black sphere suddenly appeared near Enigma Flame Maestro. Immediately after, a terrifying suction force emerged from the black sphere. Everything in the surroundings, including the vital energy of heaven and earth, including the power of laws, and even 6 Directions spiritual sovereign's boundless divine light, was forcefully pulled toward this side. This was not a gravitational space, but a space of 2 extremes. What the hell? Enigma Flame Maestro could not help but curse when he saw the divine light surging toward him. He was already resisting the 10,000 times gravity. In a hurry, he closed and opened his eyes, and his eyes turned pitch black, as if they were burning with black flames. It looked extremely evil. Enigma Flame Maestro's aura suddenly skyrocketed. He chanted a strange incantation, and a chilly wind blew in mid-air. The mournful wails of evil spirits rang out, and the deathly aura and boundless flames condensed into a strange demon god that shattered 6 Directions spiritual sovereign's divine light. The other 3 people were also in a bad situation. They were affected by the gravitational force and the suction force at the same time. The spiritual power in their bodies was constantly churning, and they were almost out of control. The 4 people who were supposed to join forces to kill Leng Shiqi were now suppressed by him alone. He was fighting 1 against 4, but he still had the upper hand. Faced with this situation, 6 Directions spiritual sovereign was furious. Divine Lotus Fairy, Ing Qinhe, why did the 2 of you hold back when you launched the surprise attack? What's the use of using such probing attacks? If you attacked with all your strength, Leng Shiqi would definitely be at a disadvantage and killed by us. How could there be such a situation now? The 2 people's faces were as black as the bottom of a pot. They did hold back, but they did not do it on purpose. On the contrary, they also wanted to kill Leng Shiqi. Moreover, the 2 of them did indeed block all of Leng Shiqi's escape routes. If it were any other metaphysical realm cultivator, they would have no way to retreat, and would have to face the 6 Directions sacred statue directly. They had calculated well, but they did not expect Leng Shiqi to be stronger than they had imagined. 6 Directions spiritual sovereign knew that it was useless to say these things now. He transmitted his voice. He must have consumed a lot of energy to maintain the law of earth of this intensity. We will attack with defense. Even if we have to exhaust him, we can still kill him. Also, I hope that no one will continue to hide their strength. If we can't take him down today, not only will we lose face, we will also offend this expert. Then, no one will have a good life in the future. The Divine Lotus Fairy gritted her teeth. Her hands fluttered as she made a series of hand seals. The illusory kingdom descended once again. She used the power of her kingdom to forcefully resist Leng Shiqi's space of two extremes. Leng Shiqi's eyes turned cold. He stretched out his hand and grabbed. In an instant, stars appeared like the Milky Way. Let's see if the power of your kingdom or the power of the stars is stronger. The universe of stars seemed to form a world of its own. It slowly pressed down. The terrifying suppressive force shattered the illusory kingdom in an instant. The divine lotus fairy groaned. Clearly, she had suffered some backlash. An illusory image of a divine lotus appeared behind her. Layers of lotus flowers bloomed one after another, emitting waves of evil light. The white lotus was bewitching. Countless lotus petals danced in the air, but they had the ability to seduce one's soul. Leng Shiqi only glanced at them. His expression froze, and the light in his eyes seemed to be a little sluggish. Quick, I can only restrain him for an instant. The divine lotus fairy immediately shouted. A chance. Enigmatic flame Taoist figure moved. The black flame demon god raised evil flames that filled the sky. They transformed into ghosts and howled as they charged at Leng Shiqi. Qinha's hands danced. There was no spiritual light, but one could feel the power of law being drawn by him. It was as if invisible threads were condensing. The invisible silk thread couldn't be caught in the slightest trace as it silently wrapped itself around Leng Shiqi's body. At that moment, Leng Shiqi suddenly felt the power in his body rapidly dissipating. It was as if the threads were sucking it away. Six Direction Spirit Sovereign's face flushed red. His body transformed into 6 streaks of spiritual light and sank into the 6 sacred statues. Immediately after, the 6 sacred statues stood there like real people, forming a combined attack array. Myriad phenomena appeared in the sky. In the end, it evolved into a dreamlike and incomparably beautiful myriad worlds painting. Chapter 926. The picture of myriad worlds was filled with a terrifying power that could sweep across the world and destroy everything in its path. Leng Shiqi seemed to be in a daze as he said slowly, "Illusions? I know them too." He didn't seem to make any movements. But a white light suddenly appeared and spread hundreds of miles away at an extremely fast speed. The consciousness of the 4 people in the space of 2 extremes was immediately attacked and pulled into an illusion in the blink of an eye. Illusions, divine illusion sky. This type of illusion had already surpassed the form of illusions. It directly invaded one's primordial spirit, tampered with one's memories, and changed one's thoughts without one's knowledge. Just like 6 Directions' spiritual supremacy at this moment, he maintained the picture of myriad worlds and was about to crush Leng Shiqi's starry sky universe. However, at this moment he suddenly felt a sense of fear towards Leng Shiqi. He did not know where this feeling of fear came from, but it was a fear that came from his bones and soul. The intense fear caused 6 Directions' spiritual supremacy's spiritual energy to become unstable, and the picture of myriad worlds even showed signs of collapsing. However, 6 Directions' spiritual supremacy was not an ordinary person. Although he was afraid, he wanted to kill Leng Shiqi more. Boom boom. The starry sky universe suddenly shattered, and the picture of myriad worlds finally suppressed the space of 2 extremes. Under the influence of the space of 2 extremes and the divine illusion sky, you still have such a strong combat power. 6 Directions' spiritual supremacy is indeed the successor of the 4 sages. Leng Shiqi could not help but think highly of 6 Directions' spiritual supremacy. He waved one hand, and in an instant, the law of earth surged. 36 earth-shattering dragons broke out from the ground and roared. As the power of earth exploded, the 36 earth-shattering dragons intertwined and tore at the sky. They collided with the picture of myriad worlds. At the same time, Leng Shiqi reached out and grabbed. The blurry starlight transformed into an arm that grabbed Qinha, who was still in the illusion, tightly. They were both under the divine illusion sky, but 6 Directions' spiritual supremacy's combat power did not decrease, while Qinha was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Therefore, even though they were both in the mystic comprehending state, the difference in their abilities was huge. At this moment, Qinha finally regained his senses. However, what awaited him was Leng Shiqi's heaven-shaking fist. As the fist landed, the formless energy around Qinha's body surged madly, but it was unable to stop it. Leng Shiqi's fist landed squarely on Qinha. The ferocious power of 10,000 beasts strangled all the meridians in his body, causing his face to contort in an instant. Leng Shiqi then lightly tapped Qinha's forehead with a finger. Instantly, boundless death energy erupted. The Thunderflame Dynasty's new Tongxian realm expert, Qinha, had fallen. It had to be said that Qinha was the weakest of the four. From beginning to end, he posed almost no threat to Leng Shiqi. At most, he could only use some restrictive spiritual techniques. No matter what, he was still a Tongxian realm expert. Perhaps he had some trump cards that he had yet to use, or perhaps he was preparing a killing move. However, it was a pity that it was all too late. As the saying goes, it is better to cut off one finger than to injure all 10. Killing one person first would greatly reduce the pressure on the other 3, but the pressure on the other 3 would greatly increase. Leng Shiqi took away Qinha's soul and said in a low voice, "1." At the side, the Divine Lotus Fairy woke up the moment Leng Shiqi killed Qinha. She just happened to see the scene of Qinha's death. A sense of terror arose spontaneously. This was not caused by an illusion. At this moment, the Divine Lotus Fairy truly felt the terror of Leng Shiqi. In a situation of 1 against 4, not only did he easily gain the upper hand, he even killed Qinha in a few moves. The reason why the 4 of them had to work together to kill Leng Shiqi was because it was too difficult to kill a Tongxian realm expert. But now it seemed that it was not that difficult. Leng Shiqi slightly turned his head and looked at the Divine Lotus Fairy. This glance caused the Divine Lotus Fairy's body to turn cold. She cried out in alarm, "Quickly kill him!" Enigmatic Flame Elder was startled awake. When he saw Qinha's corpse, his shock was no less than the Divine Lotus Fairy's. 6 Direction Spirit Elder held up the Myriad Worlds map and saw that the 30 Earth Dragons had been destroyed. He was about to speak when Leng Shiqi casually shot out a gray sword chi. However, it was this inconspicuous sword chi that made 6 Directions Spirit Elder feel an extremely terrifying threat. It also made him swallow back the words he was about to say. Leng Shiqi no longer paid attention to 6 Directions Spirit Elder. He moved his hands. One hand shone with resplendent starlight, while the other hand was surrounded by black chi. Divine Lotus Fairy and Enigmatic Flame Elder were about to counterattack, when the scene in front of them suddenly changed. Enigmatic Flame Elder appeared in a vast universe. The galaxy flowed, and nebulas filled the air. Suddenly, the nebulas began to slowly rotate. It seemed slow, but in the blink of an eye, they condensed into 6 huge whirlpools the size of the sky. 6 completely different but powerful forces were emitted. Enigmatic Flame Elder's spiritual power erupted, and flames rose around him. However, what shocked him was that the flames he had cultivated his entire life were suppressed by more than half here. He originally wanted to summon Demon God Black Flame, but he couldn't even summon a prototype. Only now did he realize that in this universe, the power of law was abnormally thin. In other words, he couldn't even use half of his strength. For the first time, Enigmatic Flame Elder felt despair. If he continued to fight, he would very likely follow in Qinha's footsteps. He said with a slight panic, "No, this old man has no enmity with you. This old man was just tempted by the benefits. This old man will retreat now. In the future, wherever you go, this old man will retreat 10,000 miles." Unfortunately, before he could finish his words, countless monsters emerged from the 6 vortexes. Some were like indifferent gods, some were humans, and most of them were all kinds of strange creatures. Enigmatic Flame Elder's body was instantly devoured by the countless monsters. Not even his bones were left. On the other side, the Divine Lotus Fairy had arrived in darkness. The extreme darkness made it so that she couldn't even see herself. The Divine Lotus Fairy moved her hand seals, and golden lotuses shone around her, illuminating her surroundings. However, there was nothing here, only darkness. Then, she suddenly realized that her golden lotuses were actually being devoured by the darkness. What was even more terrifying was that no matter how many golden lotuses she summoned, they no longer appeared. It was as if they had been ruthlessly devoured by the darkness as soon as they appeared. When the last golden lotus around her dissipated, only endless darkness remained. Even if she used all her strength, she couldn't create the slightest bit of light. She, a dignified Tongxian realm expert, was actually trapped in darkness. If Leng Shiqi attacked at this time, she definitely wouldn't be able to resist. She began to panic. In fact, without her noticing, the darkness had already begun to devour her body, starting from her fingernails, slowly to her hands and feet, to her heart, to her head. By the time the Divine Lotus Fairy noticed this, her hands and feet were already gone. In the boundless darkness, there was only her scream, and nothing else. In the space of two extremes, enigmatic Flame Elder and Divine Lotus Fairy's bodies disappeared at the same time, and then they never appeared again. Leng Shiqi clapped his hands and said, "3 now." You're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.